Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
An absolute disgrace.
That's your knowing mind.
Move him out of here, Derek.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on a Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing, nutters, messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump, you know what I'm saying?
Well, hello everybody and welcome to the 461st edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings, and joining us on the call we have Matty DiGelinardo, Andy Patterson, Ozzie Smith and Danny Young, going live on YouTube every Sunday evening from 8 o'clock. The Patreon RSS feed updates shortly after the show concludes. Hello to everybody, as always, listening through the week on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't forget to leave a review on the podcast player of your choice throughout the entire month of February. Nothing less than 5 stars is acceptable. Plenty going on this weekend. Obviously, we've got the Carl and Brook chat coming up later on. Rapping Rob Kelly will no doubt join us. A few interesting Bellew of the Weeks as well. Andy's looking forward to that. Were you looking forward, Andy, to the John Ryder versus Danny Jacobs fight on DAZN last night, this morning, whenever you got a chance to watch it? Bit of a contentious decision, contentious scoring going on, but if there's one person who deserves a decision, it's our old pal, John Ryder.
Yeah, as I say, it's probably just to make it right. To be honest, I wasn't really closely scoring the fight. I did get the impression that I felt they either needed a couple of knockdowns or at least a knockout, going down the stretch at least. I just thought he left it kind of late to get started. Not so much passive in that, but he was getting picked off at range, I felt, in the early half of the fight. I thought Jacobs was pretty much in control, shot out possibly, you could say. It was until about the 7th or the 8th I thought John started getting in more into the fight. Probably rocked, maybe even hurt Jacobs around about the 8th, I think it was. Had a few good moments in the 10th. But just to me, I just thought if he gave away the first 6 rounds, then if you get in a couple of close rounds in the next 6, you kind of run the risk really if there's a close round that can maybe go against you in that. So I kind of felt in the end that going into the last few rounds that I needed a few knockdowns or a knockout to win. So to be personally honest, I thought Jacobs probably just slightly shaded the fight. I'm not going to go and cry robbery. I get the arguments or the calls that he's been jobbed against Smith, Arfield, Arnfield, the type of things and that. But I say that the same thing with John Simpson when he got jobbed when he got the decision against Choi up in Glasgow. The amount of times he got jobbed on the cards and that, and he finally got a decision, go his way for a change. Still did they make it right, but as what it is, some people are calling it a robbery. There's other people will be on the call shortly and that they'll be giving their take, and we'll get somebody else on the call later on as well. So I'll pass it back out to the guys, mate.
No problem, Andy. Nothing for something there. Shout out to him in the chat. He says, turn the fight off in the 10th. Figured Jacobs had it won. We were talking off air there, Ozzy, about punching power. Golovkin stuck Jacobs down. John seemed to have a bit of a dig going on last night. He might have hurt Jacobs at some point later on in the fight.
Yeah, I think round 8 he hurt him and hurt him badly as well. And when Golovkin dropped Jacobs I thought shot straight back up, and you could tell he'd been hit, but he wasn't, days. Whereas I thought when John hurt him, he genuinely looked hurt, and I thought you can tell you've got the power there, and I don't understand why it took through 8 rounds to start letting his hands go. I mean, realistically, round 7 was probably went like, right, we need to start doing something. I tweeted out saying, it'd be some game plan if it pays off, because for me, I felt like in the first 6 it was, I'd say, pretty much all Danny Jacobs. I could see why potentially some a couple of judges may have given John, a round or 2 early on, because ultimately, like, while Jacobs was in, like a bit like autopilot, really, but he wasn't doing a lot. And when it got close, he was, like this disgusting, like smothering, a bit like Lawrence Okolie used to do, if anything, like spoiling tactics. And I'd say one thing, that Jacobs was probably a shadow of what he used to be. I think we called that last week in a perspective of when he fought Gabe Rosado. Somebody of Danny Jacobs' quality should not be going the distance and potentially getting beat off Gabe Rosado. If I put Gabe Rosado and John Ryder in the ring tomorrow, I think John would beat Gabe Rosado comfortably. Whereas if, I would never say Gabe Rosado should be ever, like taking, like a fighter like Danny Jacobs, not necessarily saying the distance, but, in a very close fight. But I think, as Andy said, like, it was close, very close. And I understand why a lot of people had Danny Jacobs winning. I saw some people saying it was an easy fight to score. But then those people who said it was an easy fight to score also then said that Chris Eubank Jr. against Billy Joe Saunders wasn't the walkover some people scored it as. So it is all about how you interpret a fight. But ultimately, it doesn't make it right, but I agree that for John Ryder, who's in a career from where he's bounced back from losses, and aside from the Nick Blackwell fight from where he was knocked out, and that wasn't a controversial stoppage, he was knocked out, and that is a fair stoppage. Aside from that, you look at it back, and Callum Smith, I rarely, bar the Smith brothers, I think everybody had John Ryder winning that fight. Rocky Fielding, I'd say it was more than 50%, more than probably 60 or 70% weighted towards John Ryder winning that fight against Rocky Fielding. And also Jack Arnfield as well. Again, if a lot of people felt that he was beating Jack Arnfield, and also Billy Joe Saunders. I always said that John Ryder gave Billy Joe Saunders one of his most difficult fights, and that was for the British title. It was on a Warren card. And I always say, had that been on a Matchroom card, I would not have been shocked if that had gone the other way, potentially. So it doesn't make it right, by the way, like the judges. But what we can't argue is, whilst it was in the UK, it wasn't 3 UK judges. I think there was American, I can't remember. There was Marcus McDonnell who scored it for Danny Jacobs. I think there was an American and somebody, I forget the other one.
There's an American here called Mike Fitzgerald, and there was Jean Robert Lane,
a French guy. Yeah, right. And I'd say, and I'd say the most dubious card was the Frenchman's, who I think he had John winning 3 or 4 early rounds, and I can't see that personally winning 4 personally, but. Like I say, if anybody's due a rub of the green, and getting that home cooking, it is John Ryder. It was announced that it was an eliminator for David Morrell's WBA regular title. I don't understand why it needed to be an eliminator, because John was already mandatory and they had that Morrell fight lined up. Morrell can't fight outside America, so it makes it difficult. And do I want to see John Ryder go to the US and fight David Morrell? Absolutely not. They were talking about the Canelo fight. If he comes to the UK, John's the one that deserves the fight. Absolutely. I'm all for that. Do I think John can go beat Canelo? Probably not. But will I begrudge him an opportunity? Absolutely not. But it is difficult now. And, we may well get to speak to him, later down the line to see what his plans are and what he thinks coming. 168, there are opportunities there. It doesn't just need to be Canelo. I know he's swallowing up a load of belts, but when you've got Danny Jacobs now on your record, there's going to be opportunities. Gabe Rosado was commentating for a reason last night. I wouldn't be shocked if we see that. Lerone Richards is in the Matchroom camp. Do I want to see that fight against John? No. Lerone Richards is boring. And just because, he's won that IBO belt doesn't mean he's, at that level. And I think he's a disaster to watch. And I think that fight against John would be horrendous to watch as well. But overall, I thought the fight started off horrendous. It looked awful. And I was close to turning it off, really, because it was that boring. But when John, started to let his hands go and felt, like it's like the confidence was there, he made it into a good fight. And yeah, just really pleased for him. I say it every week, 9 times out of 10, records are for DJs. And John Ryder has proved that. He could have easily jacked it in after getting knocked out off Nick Blackwell, having a rough decision against Rocky Fielding. But he came back, he took his decision, took his chances in the away corner. And look where he's at now. He's just had a big win. And, why not? He's technically mandatory for a version of a world title, but there's no reason why he can't go and get another opportunity elsewhere.
Well said, Ozzy. A different perspective here coming from Danny Young. Rather than sitting at home on the telly, Danny was there in all his glory buying those £6 pizza slices. How was it? What was the view or the buzz at ringside, Danny, after the decision and during the fight itself?
And the pizza didn't come with the price of a ticket?
Sadly, I didn't have a slice of pizza last night. I was feeling a bit ropey, but anyway. Yeah, it was a bit subdued. I don't know how it came across on TV and yet to watch it back yet. But I was about, I'd say about, 20 foot away from the ring, something like that. And it just looked scrappy, truth be told. John didn't look like he could get inside fairly easy. And I think, obviously, you look at against Callum Smith, a lot of his good work was up close and that. And obviously, I thought that his good work was up close in this fight, but I just think he found it harder to get inside. Obviously, Jacobs is a bit of a longer reach and things like that. And I just think at times he just struggled to do that. But then again, his best work kind of came when I felt like he kind of forced him against the ropes. And when he had him against the ropes, that was when you almost got a little bit of a buzz from the crowd then. But yeah, it just looks scrappy on TV. And I've got to be honest, as much as I was there for John last night, supporting John. That's why I went. And I want him to get the decisions, like we've all said. It hasn't had the rub of the green recently. But I personally, going into the card before the cards were read out, I didn't see it was going to be in John's favour. And don't get me wrong, I'm absolutely delighted it is, because obviously I won a bit of money off that last night. So great. But yeah, I can't. I'm a little bit baffled by it, truth be told, because I thought Jacobs was kind of coasting, and I mean coasting early on, because he wasn't really doing anything. And I think, like we all say, I think he's not shot, but not the boxer he was. But yeah, it was all a bit subdued, and I think obviously until the later rounds where John really kind of, John really learned that his power wasn't doing much to put him away, that he actually stepped it up. And yeah, it was, I thought he was good in the last few rounds, and like Ozzy said, hurt him towards the end. But yeah, strange one for me from ringside.
Lovely stuff, Danny. Stay with us. We'll come back. Hold that thought, as they say. Delighted to welcome Andy Clark on the call this Sunday evening. How are you keeping this Sunday, Andy?
Not bad, lads. Not bad. How are you all?
Not too bad at all. We're talking a bit of John Ryder there, actually. I don't know if you managed to catch the fight last night. If so, what did you make of it?
I didn't see it, unfortunately. I kind of have to agree. If I'm not working weekends, like I don't sit and watch 5 or 6 hours of boxing on a Saturday night. My wife. Yeah, she's not going to suffer that. But I was following it. I was following it on Twitter, and it kind of sounded like. So it'd be interesting to hear what you think. I know you've just been talking about it, and you won't want to go over old ground. But it sounded like Jacobs won the first 6, or certainly won the first half, and John won the second half. But most people who I kind of listened to from the comments they made, it seemed like they thought that Jacobs probably nicked a round or 2 in the second 6, whereas he won all of the first 6, so they had him winning. But it was close enough, maybe. I don't know. It sounded to me like Jacobs got the rough end of the stick, but I haven't seen it.
You got to be careful here. Steve and Andy are going to be worried that your wife's going to start talking to their wives, and they're not going to be able to watch 5 and 6 hours of boxing on a Saturday night. They're like, shut up. Don't
wait a minute here, Andy, how long have you been married for, mate?
I should know that. 3.5 years.
There you go. I'm 15 years, mate. So I can have happy to watch 5 hours of boxing every Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean it's not out of the question. I sort of tested the temperature yesterday, and I thought this isn't going to. There's a political. You've got to pick your battles, haven't you? This is most weekends
I've learned
I'm
that
away.
late in life, actually. Aye.
Most weekends I'm away, and I just got the feeling that last night it would have gone down like a shit sandwich. So I thought better save it for another weekend.
I'm lifelong bachelor. I picked some wrong fucking battles, my man.
Defend yourself at all times. That's what I say. Defend yourself at all times. Tell you what, then we'll go to safer territory then, Andy. Nice, easy one for you. What first got you into boxing all those years ago?
So I just kind of, like, I'm 44, so boxing wasn't in schools when I was a kid. I mean, it probably wasn't for any of us. I don't know how old you lads are, but I guess it wasn't for any of us. I was obsessed with sport, and I'd play any sport, that kind of reared its head really at school or whatever. But because boxing wasn't at school, it never really was on my radar as something that I would actually do, as in go down to a local club. I didn't know where the local club was. There was one where I was. It was quite a sleepy town I grew up in, but there was one. I just wasn't really aware of it, and none of my friends really did it. So it wasn't something that I actually did, but I became aware of it on TV really, and just kind of, I don't know, it just got into me. I remember the first kind of fighter I remember is Darren Dyer, who did turn pro, but who was a really good amateur. And I'm not going to pretend to be some kind of ABA hipster at the age of 8. That would be painful. But all I remember is that I do remember watching Grandstand. I think it was on record. It had been recorded from like the previous week or whatever it was. And it was him winning the ABAs. Didn't know what that was at the time, obviously, but that's what it was. And he won by stoppage, landed a really good uppercut. And I just remember watching on the TV and just thinking, wow, this is interesting. And then a few months later, I saw the same guy on the Commonwealth Games, and I probably watched every minute of that Commonwealth Games coverage. We were probably, like I say, we were all probably the same in that we would just like watch anything for hours, like kayaking, whatever it was. And the boxing came on, and there he was again. And he was just splattering people, Darren Dyer. I remember he just knocked out this Australian kid. And so that just kind of lodged with me. And it just went from there, really. And then, you're into kind of like Tyson. And I was just out of work this afternoon, and I was coming home. I'm reading The War by Don Stradley at the minute about Hagler Hearns, which is a really, really good read. I really enjoy getting into those kind of deep dives into big fights. And they mention Tommy Hearns against Dennis Andrews in 1987. And as I was reading it, I just thought, I remembered that. Getting knocked down again and again and again, but just kept getting up. And yeah, it was just, it went kind of like that for me, really. And then once you got into Eubank Ben, then I was, it just seemed a lot more kind of present to me at that point. And I was just completely obsessed with that. And I was, there was no hope for me after that, really.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention Darren Dyer. They're a bit of a niche name from the past. Big puncher, actually knocked out the referee Ian John Lewis back in the 90s, I believe.
Yeah. And funnily enough, like my wife used to do a bit of training at Islington. She does like boxing. She's no kind of shrinking violet, and she did a bit of training up there probably about 3 or 4 years ago when we didn't live too far away. And he was one of the coaches, and she said to me, I said, "So who are your coaches then?" And she said, Darren Dyer. And I almost kind of exploded with excitement. And I met him at one of the shows and rambled incoherently at him about what I've just said to you fellas. And he looked at me like I was slightly mad and sort of gently sidled away. But it's funny what gets you into things, isn't it? And who you remember. And it was him, because in the space of 2 or 3 months, I just saw him just knocking people out, basically. And I appreciate the finer technicalities of the sport and everything about it really now, but when you first start watching boxing, let's not pretend we want to see people get, but that's what we want to see, isn't it? That's where the real, as a young man, for me anyway, that you don't see that in any other sport. Like, I love football and I love cricket, but you don't see that. That was something new, and that was something that gets really the adrenaline flowing like nothing else, and it still does now, always will.
You mentioned the memories and the things that brought you in. Obviously, you're a boxing commentator. Can you remember the first truly memorable fight that you commentated on, the one that you go back to, the one that you thought, wow, that was amazing?
I mean, the best one I've done is Fury Wilder, but obviously that was like 5 or 6 months ago. But the first main event I did for Sky was in April 2012, and it wasn't like a classic fight, but I was just so, I was all over it because I got good warning for it from quite a long way out, and so I was just thinking about that fight night and day for weeks beforehand, and it was Derry Matthews against Anthony Crolla at Oldham Leisure Centre. And I do actually think that was a really good fight with a really good story about it. And, it was kind of the spark for Derry to have a bit of an Indian summer. So for a first one, that was a real good one. It is difficult to pick them out. In terms of a fight that I went to and watched, like one of the early fights I was ringside for with Sky, I'd done the undercard, was Butte Froch. And that had a big effect on me, that fight, because it was the atmosphere was unbelievable. It was... I've been to quite a lot of boxing at that point, but nothing. I went to see Lennox Lewis box Franz Botha, and that was great. And I went off to a few other cards, but I was quite busy, like between 2000 and 2010. I covered a lot of football during that period, so it was quite hard to get to fights really. But Butte against Froch was just mega. It was on late because North American TV took it. No one really big took it, as was kind of the way with Froch during that period, although he was back on Sky. And just the atmosphere of it was just off the charts.
It was a significant statement performance as well.
Yeah, it was huge. And I think it will always take some beating for me because it was kind of back at the start of my involvement with boxing, with, professionally, if you like. I really enjoyed Sam Eggington, Frankie Gavin. Me and Macklin talk about that one quite a lot. We just really loved that fight. Again, I loved the build up because it was a Birmingham derby, and there was relationships between the corners, and there was quite a lot of needle and all that kind of stuff. I do love local bragging rights are brilliant. When I got asked the other day about kind of bad blood fights. TalkSport are doing a documentary. I think it's coming out today actually about Khan Brook on bad blood and all the rest of it. And we get a bit bored of it sometimes, don't we, when you think it's manufactured. But when you think back to it, like the best rivalries really are between, people from the same place. It's always the problem with minor differences, isn't it? You think, well, these two should get on. They're from the same city. They live a street away from each other, but that's enough to make them hate each other. That kind of local element to any fight, I think, is whatever level it is, I think is great. I've had some brilliant area title fights. I love area title fights. And they don't get the airtime. I understand why they don't get it, because a prospect who's won an Olympic medal or done well in the amateurs, you want to build them. But area title fights English title fights are just guaranteed really good action. We had a really good Ryan Kelly against Adam Harper on the same card. It's like, just stuff like that. It's yeah.
You mentioned Sky there, obviously, with the commentating and stuff. How did you first find your way into Sky?
So I worked for TalkSport for about 10 years in the end. But about 2008, I started in 2000, and 2008 I started to sidle from radio to TV, or try to. A couple of years later, I'd sent a tape into Sky Football, and they went for it. And I got on their list to do Premier League games, like the Saturday. Well, they don't really exist anymore, but the Saturday 3:00 kickoffs.
Yeah.
Not like Super Sunday or anything. But once I'd done a year of that, like I'd always wanted to work in boxing, but when I started, it's totally different to how it is now. Whereas now you can, the best way in is still to go in via a channel or a station and get your foot in the door. That's still the best way, because you get shown things and you get taught stuff. But it's a lot harder because I went in through radio, and back then there were loads of radio stations that did their own sport, and now there just aren't. So that route's not really that open. But that's how I went in. And so you learn how to do the job. People teach you how to do the job, and then you do what you're told. And I realized there's no way I can just kind of decide that I'm going to concentrate on boxing. I just won't get any work. I'll be out on the street. So I had to get kind of 10 years under my belt before I could think, okay, well, I'll see if I can segue into boxing. So anyway, I'd done a year at Sky doing football. And at that point, I knew a pal of mine who I used to work at TalkSport with was in the boxing department. And he got me a kind of chat with Adam Smith. And it just so turned out that at that point, they actually kind of needed someone as backup.
Yeah.
And that's how it started, really. I look at it now, and I thought my knowledge at the time was good. Like I'm not I never get ahead of myself. You know, I'm one of these people who definitely, I know what I don't know. I'm always aware of how much I don't know if I feel like
You have to be like that, I think, don't
yeah,
you?
if I feel like that's the case. But actually, at that point, I really wasn't aware of how much I didn't know. But I quickly did become aware of it. But I just loved it from the start. I'd found with football that the research side of it, as a commentator, I found was a bit of a slog. I just didn't really enjoy it that much. I love going to the game, but the kind of digging into the background of it, I didn't really enjoy that much. But with boxing, I did. I loved it. It just went completely the other way, you know, just 4-round prelims, whatever fight, prospect against journeyman. You just end up going down some wormhole and never to return. And that's basically what happened.
Yeah, there's no sport quite like boxing. Just to remind our listeners, we have boxing commentator Andy Clark on the call. Follow him on Twitter at Mr. Andy Clark. A couple more questions for Andy before we let him go. One from Danny Young, who's on the panel tonight. Danny, I believe you have a question. Jump in ahead there, sir.
Yeah, cheers, Steve. Andy, obviously you do a great job ringside for Sky, and in particular your scorecards. Just I suppose, like, one of my frustrations as a boxing fan is some of your fellow commentators scorecards and how wide they can be sometimes when everyone's watching a different fight and things like that. So I suppose two questions rolled into one. What are your thoughts on that? And obviously, secondly, how difficult do you think it is to score ringside when you're sat up that close to the action?
Well, weirdly, and I don't even really know why this is the case, but it's a lot harder to score a fight when you're also commentating than it is if you're just there to score the fight, which is what I've done a lot of for Sky the last 2-3 years. I find keeping a card when I'm commentating quite difficult because it shouldn't be, because you're doing the same thing. You're just watching every second of the fight. But what you can find that happens sometimes is that you're kind of living it second by second, and you get halfway through it and you realize that your memory hasn't necessarily really logged what has happened. It doesn't really make a lot of sense when I say it out loud, but it does happen. So I always feel like for Matt Macklin, who, when he does his card, or if it's Andy on DAZN or Richie on BT or whoever it is actually quite difficult to do it and commentate. I don't really know why, but it's definitely harder. I've always enjoyed doing it. When I was asked to do it, I fancied it straight away. And I think it's quite unusual that I think most people don't really fancy it, not because they don't think they can do it. I think there's plenty of people out there who would reckon that they could do it. But I think a lot of people just probably don't like the idea of the amount of scrutiny it gets. People have got a lot to say about scoring, but it just doesn't, that doesn't bother me at all. But sitting up close ringside, it is just the best place. It is just the best place to be able to score a fight. It can look different on the TV. That's something that, and I understand why, that's something that viewers and boxing fans don't really like to hear people say, because it can sound like a bit of an excuse if your card's different to how everybody's seen it at home. And it's not the case with every fight, definitely not. But some fights, they really do look different ringside than they do at home. But in terms of scoring it, you've just got to make up your mind what it is that you're looking for, and trust yourself. It's as simple as that. I mean, but it is frustrating. I mean, there are some things I find frustrating about it. I find that the phrase "it depends on what you like" incredibly frustrating, because it doesn't depend on what you like. People talk about, do you favour the fighter moving forward or the fighter boxing off the back foot, the more aggressive one or the more technically correct one? None of that matters. Like, all you're looking for is who lands what. It doesn't matter who's on the front foot or who's on the back foot, who looks great or who looks like shit. It just matters who lands what and what effect it has. That's it. The only subjective element to it is, how do you work out who's won a round if one lands 5 heavy punches and the other lands 15 lighter ones? How do you balance those scales? And that's subjective, because you've just got to make a decision, and you might think one thing and I might think another. But there is a lot of bollocks talked about scoring, but ultimately it is simple. As in, you've just got to decide who you feel has punched more effectively in that round, and that's basically it. But I mean, it's a never-ending debate, isn't it? People will just go round and round and round in circles with it. But you do get a lot of fights. You do get a lot of fights which are legitimately very close and could go either way. You get plenty of them. You get plenty of them, but some people just don't seem to really want to embrace the idea that you can have a fight where 115, 113, either way or anything in between is fine.
Now, I was going to say, I empathise with you. I've told the boys here before many a time, but I used to do the Carl Frampton round by round for the Sunday papers. And you see, when I handed that scorecard in and all the round by rounds, I would have been bricking it, because if you're way off from everybody else, that's there in print the next morning for everybody to see. So it was more stressful than you would think.
Oh, no, I can totally understand that. And actually, like anyone who scores a fight round by round on Twitter and puts their score up, fair dues, because you're putting yourself out there. I know it's just a social media platform, but boxing's got a pretty kind of dedicated, regular crowd around fight nights, hasn't it? I wouldn't say we all know each other, but you recognise a lot of names there, a lot of people you've chatted to. But you get a lot of people who don't score it round by round, who don't put their score out there, and they just wait for the consensus afterwards, and then kind of jump on the bandwagon. Or you'll say, "Did you score it round by round?" And they'll say, "No, but I had it 116, 112." And you think, well, no, you didn't, because you didn't score it round by round. That's another, that's another aspect to it, where people will watch a fight and, you win all of your 6 rounds. You win 6, I win 6. You win your 6 big, I nick my 6 or not as big, and you have a big final round. The overall impression, if you're giving kind of like impression scoring, would be that you've won, but you haven't. And I had one of them with Katie Taylor, Delphine Pursoon, the first fight, where I had it a draw. One of the judges had it a draw. Steve Farhood, who was there, who I've got massive respect for, he had it a draw. And Pursoon won her rounds big and Katie won her rounds smaller, and Pursoon had a massive final round. And so everybody thought she won. But on balance of how you score boxing, it was really close. But, people kind of... It's difficult to have it can be hard to have a productive debate about scoring. I mean, Katie Taylor's usually the one way where you get the most grief, because if you dare score a round against Katie Taylor, most of Ireland just slides into your DMs and, cause you all sorts of things.
Just a quick fire one to close things out, Andy, and we do appreciate your time. Obviously, I'm not asking for a prediction as such, because you'll probably be involved in some capacity, but Khan versus Brook coming up this Saturday. Any thoughts, anything you want to put on record with us?
I've got no idea what's going to happen in that. I'm doing it for covering it for TalkSport, and I've thought about it like as much as I would think about any fight that's coming up. So a lot, and I just don't. I don't know. Honestly, what do you lot think? Because it's, when I think about it, I think, well, they are kind of equally faded. Amir's resume is better. So if somebody asks me for a favourite, who's favourite? You've got to make him favourite, I think, because he's done more. But then again, this is a good example. I say that, but then at welterweight, he hasn't, because he hasn't won a world title at welterweight, and Kel has.
I think he'll look. It can look amazing for the first 4 or 5 rounds, if it goes that far, and then if it does, I think Brook will then knock him out for about 7 or 8. Because
do you think he can stop Brook in those first 4 or 5 though?
No, I think what it'll be like,
if Brook's weight drained,
if it's like the Canelo fight, I suppose. But if it's like the Canelo fight, for example, I had Can winning that fight 5-0 till he got knocked out. So I could see something.
Yeah,
like that
so
happen.
did I.
Like that happen.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say I agree in the fact that I think the big difference is that we're forgetting that Kell Brook was really struggling to make 147, and there's also a weight clause. Amir Khan revealed that in a recent interview, that they've both got to hit a certain target and they can't go over it until they enter the ring. So I think that's a big difference from a case of Kell Brook's a big guy at 147, and if he's having to watch his weight until ultimately, he makes the, like the IBF 10-pound weigh in the day after.
Yeah.
Once that's gone, that's absolutely fine. But
it's 149. It's 149, isn't it? And then it's 163.5, I think.
Yeah, and we know Kell puts a lot of weight on, when he, after he can do that. And look, don't get me wrong, there's some decent weight there. I mean, I looked at Khan, he uploaded a picture and I thought he looked really good. It's tough, really, because like you say, Andy, they're both shot in their equal rights, in terms of they're by no means the best of what they were. And I always felt that if they were at the peak, I always felt that Amir Khan would beat Kell Brook. And thinking about that, I think Kell, as you know, he never looked good against Michael Zarafa, but then Amir Khan didn't look good against Sammy Vargas. I do wonder if it's a case of who's got, the most in it. I think it's a bit of a myth somewhat that Khan's got a bad chin, because I always relate to the Maidana fight from where, he took some big shots in that. And I don't think Kell's as big a hitter as what people make him out to be. But Khan's speed will never go. It's still shown that he's still got quick hands. And I wonder if he might just be a bit too slick for Kell Brook. And will he get him out of there? I don't know, but I think he might get too many rounds in the bank from where Kell might struggle to keep up, because I can't see Kell forcing a fight from where it'll be extremely quick from where Khan will gas, personally anyway. But while it's not the fight it was, I still think it's a great fight.
I think it'd be a fun fight, I think it'd be fun.
It'll be a great fight, because ultimately I don't know anybody who can confidently pick a winner. I'm yet to speak to one yet anyway.
No, nor me. I mean, like I said, I'm reading this book at the minute about Hagler Hearns, and I just wonder, we're not going to get that, but I just wonder if we might get something along those lines where they just, Kell Brook possibly might just think, like, I'm just going to step into the middle of the ring and smash him. I don't rate his chin. I maybe haven't got more than about 5 or 6 in me, but I think I'm stronger than him. I'm bigger than him. It's the other great thing about it for me is that they're two fighters I just genuinely have always really liked. I thought, Khan was great at super lightweight, and then that defeat to Lamont Peterson was a big blow, and then Danny Garcia. And it's amazing to think that he's never even, he's never won a world title at welterweight. And with Kell, it was, he could have done more, couldn't he? He definitely could have done more, because he was really good when actually that fight against Sean Porter is a good example of what we were just talking about from a scoring point of view. I watched that at home, and I had Porter winning. I had Porter 115, 113. I was in a minority, but I did it properly. I was honest about it. I spoke to colleagues who'd been over there for Sky, and they said, I sitting at home, I had Porter winning that fight, and they said, no, ringside it was clear. Anyway, I'm digressing back to something.
I've had that a few times, though, mate. I remember when Ricky Burns fought the guy called Gonzalez. It was one that the guy ended up quitting in it, but Burns was getting a lot of problems that night, and I was at ringside for that one. I thought Burns was maybe slightly ahead, because a lot of the shots that I was seeing was getting blocked, especially the ones about the body and that. If you look at it, when I watched it back on TV, I could see that those same shots looked like they were actually landing, so I could see why people were maybe scoring it for the other guy.
Yeah, I've always said though that I'm a big believer that judging needs to evolve, and that ringside judging is somewhat outdated, because I think if you could stick 3 judges in a booth, like a soundproof booth, from where they're not, not bothered by, like the crowd, like Johnny Fisher, for example, had 2,500, 3,000 people there last night. And if it was a close fight, naturally it's human nature. You're going to be lured in by, the noise and, a punch from, say, one angle of a ring. You might think it's landed. Yet I'm on the opposite side of the ring and it's been blocked.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm a believer.
There is a strong argument for that kind of everybody at least looking at the same thing, because being on different sides of the ring, that
it makes a difference.
Daniel Dubois, Joe Joyce was one of the craziest fights I've been at from the point of view of scoring, because I was sitting on one side and I had it through 9 rounds, 6-3 to Dubois. Like, he's winning battles, but he's not winning the war. It was one of those fights. Like, you could tell that he was in trouble. You could tell he was in trouble. He was letting his hands go, and as far as I was concerned, he was quite obviously ahead. We finished the fight. I kind of walked out the exit, and we were deep in COVID at that point. So everybody who kind of was on my side of the ring, like Frampton, David Hay, couple of Chris McKenna, a couple of other lads, we all walked out the same way, and we were talking about it, and we all had Dubois ahead to varying degrees. I got out of the tube to go home at the other end, and I just realised that the world had gone mad, and everybody was kicking off and going mental about the scoring, because everybody thought that Joyce was well ahead, and I just thought, wow, I did not see that from where I was. But the judges' scores, one had Dubois comfortably ahead. One had Joyce 3 up, and one had it basically even. So that's just a great illustration of that, because that can only be that's
different
what happened
angles
there.
of the ring.
Yeah, different angles of the ring. Yeah.
And I mean, what we can't use is that the sound argument. Then is that Bailey no sod was in the well, I can't even remember. It was like a random like church hall or something,
Yeah,
like a
that's
real
right.
random.
Yeah.
It was
That's
it was a nice venue, but it was really odd. So there was God must have been about 100 people in there, so the sound can't affect it. But still, one thing you'll never change in boxing is the angle of the rings. And I'm a believer that if we want scoring to improve, you want 3 judges seeing the same same shot, so they're all seeing the same stuff, and they'll watch it basically from a TV camera more than being ringside, because they don't achieve anything from being like the ringside judges. If they're in they're in a booth in the same arena, that's absolutely fine, but at least you'll then get 3 people watching the same sort of shots and they'll call it looking at the same footage. Whereas if they're at different angles of the ring, naturally you're gonna see different stuff, because Marcus McDonald sitting at one side, he scored it for Danny Jacobs last night, yet the Frenchman scored it well in favour of John Ryder. And he had, like a lot of people said that the first 6 rounds saw it to Danny Jacobs, yet the Frenchman scored more to John than they did Danny Jacobs.
That's
and that can
because to the
only be
French-
on.
To the French, surviving is victory, Oz. It all makes sense when you look at that scorecard.
Here he goes.
But at the same time, though, as well, for me, it goes on an angle that I might look at it and think, well, you can throw 50 shots, but if John Ryder blocks every one of them, just because you're throwing punches, ultimately, if you're not landing anything, who cares? Whereas I'm at the other side and I might see a shot land, whereas I'm on the opposite side and I think it's been blocked. And that's where I think that boxing could well develop for the right reasons. It might not work out, but what have they got to lose? Because how many times, and I've always said that good cards and good fights are marred by controversial scoring decisions. So if boxing can look to change things, what's it got to lose? For me, nothing.
Well, and Andy, I just want to throw this out, and something I've thought about is, I mean, ringside, you actually have your view, obscured by the ropes, and sometimes I wonder, do judges not give enough weight to body shots because that's just the way they score, or is it because they aren't as visually apparent from ringside?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there are things at ringside that can be a little bit of a problem. Where I would sit would be, I mean, the judge gets in my way sometimes because I'm sitting kind of right behind them. But in terms of what they can see, I'm pretty much seeing what they can see. But there is stuff you can't see. Like you say, the ropes can get in the way. They've got their back to you. The referee can get in the way sometimes. It's always been an imperfect kind of thing. But I don't think there is anything to lose by trialing a new system and just seeing what the results are like. Because I'll tell you what was really interesting about COVID was that the commentary position was quite a long way from the ring. I'm quite used to that because in a lot of amateur tournaments, like international amateur tournaments I do, that's the case. And I'll still watch the ring. And I'm lucky, I've got good eyesight. So if I'm set back a bit, I'll still watch the ring. But pretty much everybody else I know, like Adam and Matt, Steve, I just say, Alex Steedman, I know John Rawling was the same, they would watch the screen. So all of a sudden, whereas before, you're watching the ring and the judges are watching the ring and people at home are watching the screen, and you might get that disconnect where everybody at home thinks that the commentary teams and the judges have gone mad because they've not seen what they've seen. Then all of a sudden, the commentators are watching what everybody at home is watching. And I thought that did make a little bit of a difference. I thought you saw more of a correlation between what the commentators saw score-wise and what everybody saw at home because, you're watching the same thing. And all of a sudden, it was only the judges who were up at ringside. And with something like Dubois-Joyce, I think that was quite key because they were the only ones who were really close. And they had this massive range of scores. Everyone at home was just convinced that Joyce had won. But it's always worth trying new things. But what generally happens in boxing, isn't it? The WBC, tossed out a load of things a while ago. Do you remember when they kind of had, I think Paulie and a couple of other people on the panel, and they said stuff like they were going to look at, whether blood relatives should really be in the corner or whether dad should be training son.
Yeah, they banned them for a while, did they not? Dad's in the corner, I think it was.
Yeah, I don't think they ever did any of it, though, did they? they came out with some half-sensible suggestions, but I don't think anything ever happened.
Yeah, I remember that one specifically. Yeah. Open scoring. They used to have the old.
They still do open scoring. They still do open scoring, but
outside of America,
that's,
isn't it?
Mostly in Thailand.
That's it. You don't get it everywhere. In Saudi, we had it. So I remember. Can't remember which fight it was. It was one of the undercard ones I did, but it was a WBC fight, and we had it there. And they do it in Italy, but they don't do it in the UK. They
did it in Ireland, didn't they? I remember Macklin's fight against that Jorge Highland.
Oh, was it? I don't even remember that.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. I remember. I'm pretty sure they announced the cards during the after it wasn't every round. It was every like 3 or 4. Wasn't it?
4, yeah. They do it every 4. They do it after 4 and 8. That's an interesting one.
The Canelo fight against Trout. Remember?
That's right.
Because like people were like moaning because Canelo wasn't engaging the kind of that.
They did it with John Mark Mormec against O'Neill Bell back in the day, and Mormec was that far ahead. He just ran for the last 4 rounds. He completely killed the fight.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, again, like anything, there are arguments for and against, isn't it? It's like one is that, if you realise you're up, then it might change your tactics. Another is that if 3-4 rounds, 2 judges have got it quite similar, and the other one's way out of kilter, then the one who's way out of kilter will think they're seeing it wrong, and it could get in their head and all of that. I mean, I'm not sure I really see the value in open scoring myself.
Okie doke, we'll leave it there. We've put the boxing world to rights as best as we can this Sunday evening. Andy, absolute pleasure having you on. Any social media presence aside from the Twitter that you want to direct anybody to there?
I mean, I'm on Instagram. You won't get much out of me on Instagram, but I am on it. It's the same thing, Mr. Andy Clark. No, thanks for having me on, lads. I listen to this.
God help.
So yeah, it's always good to be asked.
Thanks very much. Appreciate you having me on. Have a good one, Andy. Cheers, dude.
Yeah, you too, boys. You too.
All the best.
All the best, mate.
Andy Clark there. Good stuff having him on. The guests are flying thick and fast. John Ryder's jumped on the call. Ozzy, I'll hand over to you to handle the particulars for this one.
Yeah, so we'll pick up now, John, and I think it's an easy case of arguably the biggest win of your career last night. How are you feeling after it?
Oh, mate, I'm on cloud 9. A great win for me. I mean, I obviously I didn't know it was being scored at the time, and I felt like I was winning pretty comfortably. I need to watch it back and go over it, but I always felt like I was in control in there and working to a game plan and felt in control of the fight at all times. But listen, he's a classy operator, probably past his best. But listen, yeah, it's a fantastic win for my record, and feel like I've joined a good club of beating Danny Jacobs.
Did Danny Jacobs do anything you didn't expect throughout the fight?
I'd say there's a few things he did that I was shocked that I thought he'd be more of a physical size in there. I thought he'd rehydrate to a ridiculous weight, but he didn't seem to. I think his speed's probably diminished a bit now over the years and probably the layoff. I was a bit surprised at his power. I probably gave him too much respect for his power, thinking that he was going to turn it on later on in the fight. But yeah, I mean, certain shots, he throws awkward shots that are awkward to defend, but I probably could have engaged that bit more early on and gone for broke. But I was boxing to a game plan, and it felt like it was working, so we stuck to it.
I was going to say that there's been a lot of talk naturally about the scorecards and how people saw it, and I thought, if anything, that you seemed a bit coy early on to let your hands go, because from round 7 onwards, I mean, round 8 was probably your best round, from where you hurt Danny Jacobs and hurt him big as well. Do you think you probably could have gone a little bit earlier, and that probably owed to the fact that you gave him a bit too much respect, from what he did, in terms of power and what he'd done previously?
Yeah, potentially knowing what we know now, obviously. But listen, I think someone like Danny Jacobs, these American fighters, they learn a different way to us. They're always setting traps and always trying to set you up for feints, and they're always thinking 3 or 4 moves down the line. And I feel that English fighters, we don't seem to do that so much. So I was always second guessing what he was going to do in 3 or 4 moves time, which, I mean, massively overthinking it and not living so much in the moment. But Yeah, I feel like I could have stepped on it early. Obviously, the game plan for me and Tony was to tie him up early and work away and just try and tire him a bit, and then stick it on him the second half of the fight, which I think we done perfectly. But knowing now that he wasn't as strong and as physical and as dominant as we thought he would be, that we could have stepped on the gas that bit earlier and made it a more dominant performance.
I'm going to combine a couple of questions, like two into one. There's one from Michael Thompson from the chat, as in, did you find it easier to fight him when he turned southpaw? But also, what sort of sparring did you bring in for Danny Jacobs, knowing that he is a known switcher and does both quite well?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. I thought he'd switch southpaw earlier doors. To be honest, I thought he'd see that he'd have a lot more success. But I love fighting southpaws, and when he did eventually turn southpaw, it was music to my ears, and I felt like it was a lot more easier to land clean. And I was surprised that he stayed southpaw for so long. I felt like I was having a lot of success when he was in the southpaw stance, and he probably took away his main threats when he did go southpaw.
Did he seem slappier with his punches when he was southpaw? Like he doesn't throw his left as straight as he throws his right when he's throwing orthodox.
Yeah, I think when he's in the orthodox position, the right hand to the body and over the top is a real tool for him. But I feel when he's in the south position, it is more of a cup-in slap shot. Yeah.
How did you? I mean, we always talk about it, John, don't we? I mean, you seem to get on a run, from where you have that activity, and then next thing it's a case of bang, it's you're waiting for the opportunity. Do you feel like you were out the ring a bit too much, a bit too much longer than you wanted to be going into a fight of this magnitude?
Yeah, I think looking back, I mean, listen, it's been a stagnant 2 years for myself. A fight in December of 2020, then one in September of 2021. I mean, listen, it was great to get out so early this year, but you're thinking it's not so bad and not such a layoff, but it's still quite a period of time. So I think it's important now for me to rest up, heal up for a couple of weeks, and then get back banging on the door at the Matchroom office and trying to find out what's next with Eddie and get something penciled in, because I think I need to be active now. I'm 33 years young, and I really need to kick on now.
Yeah. Again, a couple of questions combined into one. So we've got, did you find Danny Jacobs' power, more, basically, did it hurt more than Callum Smith's? And my question was, what was the harder fight? Was it the Callum Smith fight or was it the Danny Jacobs fight?
I feel like I got hit more in the Danny Jacobs fight. I think we was always throwing extra caution to Callum's catch counter, so we was trying to close the gap really quickly there to make sure we didn't come on the end of that. But with Danny, I think I was I engaged more with him up close and was happy to take one to land two. And I expect his power to be a lot more in his shots, where he's kept the likes of Canelo and Golovkin at bay. But listen, he's a good fighter. He's an old dog, and he knows his way around the ring. He slows the pace when he wants it, and I mean, it's hard to up it when he doesn't want to up it. He's very good at dominating the pace.
I agree with that, and I mean, it's easy to say, like, oh, he wasn't his best and stuff, but he was still, like, clearly a very good fighter. But you've got that win now, and I know it was announced as an eliminator for David Morrell's WBA, regular title, and I mean, we already know that you had that in, that you had that title shot available, and it went, by the by. But I think realistic for me, that fight's probably not of interest. It's not really the Danny Jacobs fight, belt aside, he doesn't need a belt on the line. That is a bigger fight than the Dave Morrell fight. What do you want to see next? I mean, there's the Canelo fight, but I think, he's lined up to fight Dimitri Bivol. So at 168, if you could pick the next fight, what would it be for you?
Well, I mean, it's a tough one. And like I say, if the belts are all tied up, then there is still other good fights out there. I mean, you've got the likes of the former champions, the Benavides, the Plants. I mean, even like someone like Anthony Durrell, there's big fights out there still to be made. But I mean, I think we've got to make these fights and keep the division active. Otherwise, we just hang around for one man to decide what he's going to do. And although he's a very good fighter and a very good ambassador for the sport, it's a shame for everyone to be stagnant because of him. And I mean, he's taking care of himself first and foremost, so he's going to do what's good for his business. And if that's going up to 175 and taking care of them at business there, then hopefully he does let some of the belts go at 168, so we can all get active and get fighting for them.
Is a Billy Joe Saunders rematch something that'd interest you?
But listen, I'm open to all rematches. There's many fights in my career that I feel hard done by, and I'd love the chance to go back over, run them back, and go over them again. So, listen, of course, I mean, I've got no animosity towards Billy Joe. I know that he's looking for a Eubank fight, but listen, in time we'll sit down with Eddie and Charlie and Tony and see what the best plan is. But I mean, we are fully focused on a route of the WBA, and hopefully that can lead to a shot at the WBA title.
Before I hand over to Danny Young, who's got a question for you on the panel, I've got one more. It was back at the Ali Pali last night, which isn't a common boxing venue, but my God, the atmosphere looked unreal last night. What was it like for you in there? It wasn't your typical boxing arena, was it? But I think with the Johnny Fisher crowd as well as your fans, it seemed, it's a common phrase, electric, but it looked a little different last night compared to the O2 or the Copper Box or the MEN.
Scott Mulligan was losing his mind there last night.
Yeah, he loved it, didn't he?
He was going mental. Did you see him at ringside?
Yeah, he absolutely loved it, didn't he?
Need him in the corner, John.
Well, the world's biggest hype man.
You pay that man.
You know what? It was a great buzz there. I mean, it's got the big arena feel to it. Obviously, it was only, I think it was set out for 7,000, but it was a great buzz there. And for me to be back in North London, not boxed in London since 2018 against Andre Sorokin at the Copper Box, so it's been 3 years out the ring in London. So it was nice to get back and get probably my career best win against a world-renowned fighter and probably a legend of the sport. But yeah, it's great. I mean, it helps with Johnny Fisher selling 2,500 tickets and packing it out. But yeah, it felt like a great buzz in there, and I think it was just a good night, and all in all.
Danny, I'll hand over to you now with your question.
Cheers, Oz. John, congratulations. Firstly, I was there last night cheering you on, mate. So well done. I just wanted to ask you, from where I was sat, which was fairly close to the ring, it looked like it was quite difficult to get up close and inside on Jacobs. Was it his reach, or did he just make it difficult, or was that just a game plan early on? Because obviously I noticed that as the fight kind of went on a bit more, you started doing that a lot more, and obviously that's where a lot of your really good work came from. So was he just difficult to get close up? Because obviously against Smith it seemed a lot easier. So was it just a case that he was, a bit more wise to it?
I think he's quite shrewd up close, but our plan was to tie him up a bit in close, but he was one doing majority of the tying up, so that was a bit frustrating. We was going to tie him up and work away and just work to the body early doors, but he kind of took that away from us, so it was a bit harsh at the start, but it kind of worked in our favour. We still got off the shots we wanted to get off, and really got to stick the foot on the gas the second half of the fight and kick on.
Did you feel like he was trying to hold on a lot more towards the end of the fight to start kind of stop you from getting good shots away?
I did, yeah. I mean, it's hard. I mean, because looking back now, and I think I should have moved to the right more. But then when he was in a southpaw stance, his left hook's a very dangerous shot, and I mean, he was winging it around a few times, and I was slipping back off it and turning the head and just narrowly missing him. So, I mean, we was trying to eliminate majority of the risks, but it was tough in there. It was a real thinking fight. Something I couldn't get too carried away, and just honestly, it was just a mentally draining fight. My mind feels battered today.
Good man. Well, congratulations, Matt, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a quick reminder: we've got John Ryder on the call. Fresh off his win against Danny Jacobs last night, and Just a couple more from me, John, before we let you go, and we thank you for your time. I think I always say again, just a few losses doesn't mean it's a career over. But also, there's so many times from where a couple of losses, and it's a case of people call on fighters to leave the trainer. And I think you're a prime example that I think you've been with Tony since pretty much since you turned over, and how. I guess it's a case of how happy are you that you've stayed with him, but also in the fact that it proves that a change doesn't always mean it's better, and the fact that a case of little changes, that going up a weight has done the world of good for you, but also that the relationship you've got has proved pivotal throughout your career as well.
Yeah, no, I think it's essential. I think me and Tony have got a great understanding now. We've what's it been, 7 years? And I think it takes time to adapt and adjust to a new trainer. And I think obviously people are reading into the step aside money for AJ to let Usyk and Fury fight. And I mean, we don't know the ins and outs of it fully, but I mean, if that was the case, then I'd see it as a smart move for AJ to take money and step aside and let them two have boxed, because if AJ is in the process of getting a new trainer, then really you need as much time as possible to gel and make a bond with that trainer and really just get a bit of fluency between both of you and get an understanding of each other and just really get to know one another and not be stepping into big massive fights with the likes of Usyk and that you've been beat on and going straight back into it. So listen, I think if he could have got a bit of step aside and another 6 to 8 months, then it would have been beneficial. But like I said, I don't know the ins and outs of that particular situation, but I think these situations take time, and I think that it's starting to show now that the belief I've had in Tony, and more so the belief Tony's had in me, is starting to pay dividends. And Tony's one that's happy to bring in Dan Lawrence, our S&C, and help out with the nutrition and all the other sides of it. So I think it's not a one-man band. There's many fixtures in the fitting, and I think it's working well.
And a quick one, big fight next week, Amir Khan, Kell Brook. We were just talking then, saying, it's pretty much that while it's not the fight it was, I don't think anybody can call it, straight down the middle. How do you see the fight going?
Well, I think it's a real fight of two halves. Depends what both have got left. I mean, I know Khan had blistering hand speed throughout his career. If he's still got that, then he's going to cause a lot of problems for Kell early doors. I mean, I feel Kell Brook is the best 6-round fighter in the game. I think he's been 6 rounds up against most fighters he's fought, and the wheels have just seemed to fall off, and he's either been knocked out concussively or he's been beat on points. But listen, I think if he's still got the hand speed, then it'll be an interesting fight for the first half. But if the hand speed's gone and he tries to brawl with Kell early doors, I think he'll get beaten early and it'll be an early night. But I think I've got to favour Kell. I think he still carries a lot of power. I don't think the rehydration clause would be too much of an issue. £15 quite a substantial amount to put on. So I think it should be a great fight and a good win for Kell.
John, I think we all really appreciate your time on the podcast. I mean, you've helped us out every time, every fight that you've had, big wins, you're straight on. So congratulations on last night. It was a massive, massive win, and fingers crossed you get that big fight next. I think the closing statement would be is, if you could pick a fighter next, who would it be for you?
Well, listen, I mean, everyone wants a Canelo shot. I mean, that'd be the payday we all want. But aside from that, I just want more big names: the Benavides, the Plants, the Durrells, just fights that are going to put me in the right direction and get me a step closer to a world title.
And John, I just want to say I had money on a draw and Jacobs on points, so thanks for that, man. Thanks for that. No money for this guy because your performance last night.
Oh, that's all right. Ozzy said he'll reimburse you.
Hey, thanks, Oz. Appreciate that. I'll send you over the PayPal link.
Yeah, I'm sure we can sort something out. But no, John, it's been a pleasure as always, and we really appreciate you coming on and giving some time tonight, particularly fresh off, a massive win last night as well.
No, it's no problem. Thanks for having me on, all the support you've always shown, and always give me that bit of promotion. So I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Top man, thanks a lot, John.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Good stuff, Oz. Good stuff, John. Good to have him on as always. Matty, come on now. The draw, the Jacobs win. I only watched the highlights.
He's an Eddie Hearn, always hedging his bets, aren't he?
Well, so it was 18-1 on the draw, and I'll tell you what, man. After Jacobs took that 12th round, I was thinking because I took Fisher on points with Jacobs on points, which was really nice odds. And then I had the draw, just a little side thing with just $5 on that. And I thought after Jacobs took the 12th, I thought he clearly took the 12th. I thought I got to get one or the other. I've got to get one or the other. And what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do,
Matty? I was waiting for you to mention parlay.
What are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it?
We should do boxing Asylum bingo one of these days. But if everyone download a card and over the podcast, we'll maybe do a gift or something like that. That could be fun.
Right, Matty, come on, give us the lowdown then on the main event.
Look, I thought it was a good fight. I thought Jacobs really won the first 6 rounds, and I thought he won the 12th, and he might have had a case for maybe it was the 9th in there. So I thought that he won the fight. When I was with Ryder, when Jacobs went southpaw, it just went south for him. And the reason he won that 12th round is because he went back to right-handed and he started throwing that straight right hand instead of that looping left as his backhand punch. But he was a guy on the tail end who doesn't want it as much, I don't think. And we all knew that complacency was going to catch up to him on the cards one day or another. Here it is. And, John just seems to want it more and give a guy a chance.
Danny, you were there live in person in Technicolor. What about the undercard? Bit of Felix Cash, bit of Johnny Fisher. What stood out for you and what didn't hit the mark?
First kind of real fight that I sat and took notice of was Hopi Price. Actually quite impressed by him. His body shots look good. I know he's obviously young coming up, and that's his 6th fight or something like that, 7th fight or something. But yeah, he looked pretty good. Austin Williams, I thought he looked pretty good as well. Again, he was way too strong for the other fella, but But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what comes out of him over the course of maybe the next 6 fights. I thought Ellie Scottney had a bit of a bad day, to be honest with you. Giannini for a start had hair, so that was interesting. She just came out winging like she did against, it was Ball, wasn't it, that she fought? I think it was, or was it?
Danny as well. She beat Rachel Ball, I thought. And I thought she beat Ellie Scottney last night as well.
Yeah, so did I, to be honest with you, from where I was sat. I mean, she came out winging. I said to my mate, I said, watch this girl. She'll just come out winging shots all over the place. And she did, and she caused Scottney trouble, I thought. And I thought the scorecards were quite bad there. Obviously, I wasn't over Twitter during the time, but I saw a lot of after the event, I saw a lot of people saying awful scorecards. Were they around that fight, or was it something else on the cards that night? Because it was earlier than the John Ryder fight anyway. So I wonder whether people were up in arms about that one as well. But yeah, anyway, I thought Scottney trouble. She took a bad cut as well by looks of things. So be interesting to see where she goes next. Johnny Fisher, I mean, God, I was just surrounded by Fisher fans. It was mental, the amount of people that were in there last night wearing the Romford Ball T-shirts.
Danny, sorry, just shout out to whoever it was in the Boxing Nutters Messenger forum who came up with David Price and Fisher Price. I thought that was a pretty good one.
That's got to happen now, isn't it? It's just got to happen. Fisher, again, he's early doors and showing some promise. I think he moves quite well for a big lad. And obviously that guy he fought last night was probably tougher than his record suggested. I I was hearing rumours and people talking around that, like, Fisher was going to KO him, but I thought he stood his ground and actually, took centre of the ring a lot of times and kind of forcing the fight quite a lot. So fair play. And again, Fisher took a bad cut in that as well. I know it was a clash of heads, but still, it's one of those things when you're starting out early and you've got to learn to deal with cuts like that, whether they come from headbutts or punches. It's one of those learning things. So yeah, he did pretty well, and you could get points when it was going to happen, wasn't it, all day? So Cash, I'm disappointed with Cash, to be honest with you. I actually thought the Russian had won that one. I was surprised about the Russian because he had barely had a knockout to his name, but yet his punches sounded quite solid from where I was sitting. Cash just didn't look his usual self. His guard wasn't there. He was, I don't know, he just looked a bit laboured at times, and maybe he just found it difficult to connect onto the Russian. I don't know what it was. It just didn't look like the Felix Cash that I've seen before. Obviously, I'm delighted he got the win. He's from Wokingham. That's where I'm from. But yeah, I actually thought he lost that from where I was. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see where he goes from there, because I'm assuming he's going to need he's going to want to fight someone a step down from that before he goes a step up again. But yeah, in all, it wasn't the greatest undercard. Obviously, I know we were shitting on it, or some of us were shitting on it last week. Look, I wasn't there for the undercard. I was there to support John, and obviously he did the business, whether it was right or wrong or not. But yeah, I mean, in all, it was just good to get out. It was my first fight in 2 years. Can't ask for any more than that. Had a bit of fun and watch John pick up a win. So great.
Good stuff, Danny. Glad you enjoyed it. Andy, changing tack with you slightly on the Friday night. Obviously, Danny Dignam got the win over Grant Dennis. Not worried too much about that one. Lee McGregor against Diego Alberto Ruiz. I saw him fight Michael Conlan. Didn't think he was up to much. 95-95 a draw. I didn't see it, so I'm relying on your greater judgment here. Not that I want to make too many excuses, but McGregor didn't look great in his last fight either. Got dropped, came back, got the win. Is he really, really boiling down to the weight?
Well, this is the thing, mate. I mean, the fight was actually at 122. It was over the weight fight. Tune up, keep busy, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I agree. There's just something's been off, and I don't want to cast doubts or whatever on that. But he's been pretty much off since he's tuned up with Ben Davison. He went to Ben Davison I think it was just before the Gowfrey fight. I think it was. But talking about the weight situation, that it was even before the Cash Farouk fight, he was struggling with the weight in that fight. A fight I thought he lost from a ringside advantage, and he even stated after the fight that he was struggling with the weight. He was going to bring somebody else in to help him make it. The last few fights hasn't been looking good. He was dropped in his last fight in that as well, I believe. I think what it was, the opponent was slightly cagey. He was kind of more forced to kind of press the action, work the body. But the guy he was fighting was happy to kind of firing his own shots and that, wanting to kind of work off the back foot. So yeah, it was one of those ones where I thought that McGregor was really struggling to put a dent or really hurt him to a point where he's in the pocket constantly, really ripping the shots off, kind of getting tagged with stupid shots himself. And I just thought maybe just take a step back, just you probably know yourself, Matt. It's just not going to be your night to have a spectacular knockout, spectacular performance. So just get the job done, basically. But it didn't look good. It just didn't look good. Certainly, I'd like to see him, just adapt his boxing a bit more, and rather just kind of try and press it all the time and work. Just constantly try to rip it. Sometimes you aren't going to get away with that. You just need to kind of work at home and just you just know it's going to be a hard night's work. But certainly that was a bit of a shocker, actually, to be honest with you. People automatically were complaining, about the weight, which was quite weird because it is a couple of pounds up. Maybe it could be the trainer situation, or maybe he's just reached his ceiling, which is weird to say because British, Commonwealth, European champion. But to be honest, you put him in off that performance here last night, on Friday night, I would not favour him against Inoue whatsoever. Even Denaire and Casemiro as well, who's a noted banger. If he's wanting action and Casemiro would give it to him, I wouldn't have fancied him against any of those guys there on Friday night, actually. That's how poor he was. So definitely back to the drawing board for me.
I know that wasn't the only fight you watched, Andy. Just before we go into Kalenga, quick shout out before I forget to the super chatters who threw in during the John Ryder and Andy Clark talk. Ryan Petit threw in a £5 and Michael Thompson threw in £3 as well. So very much appreciated to your super chats. Over to Latvia then, Andy, of all places. Noel Gavor, a fighter who seems to be around for a long time now, against another guy who's been around for a long time. I've seen him fight live in the past, actually. Yuri Kalenga, quite the character. He's got loss number 6 or 7 on his record now. He's racking up those losses. How did that fight go, Gavor, against Kalenga?
Yeah, it was pretty. I was actually had it on side by side. I think it was on at the time of the Felix Cash fight, so I was kind of like flipping back and forward. So it isn't a full kind of rundown of it, but it was quite laborious, quite ponderous. But Gavor, for what I've seen of it, was pretty clear, and he won it wide on points. And that Kalenga just meandered, very, very slow. No really got the punching, just couldn't get the punches off really. You say I knew I'd hit Gavor before, but it was announced under his Russian name. Was it my or Armenian name? Is it Mikelian, or I think his name was? So I didn't know who it was actually until I actually checked the fight on Boxrec earlier on there. So I'd actually forgot to actually been the distance with Bedis and Diablo and that as well. So good opponent, keeps himself up there. I think he's top 3, top 2. I think one of the ranking bodies and that. But Kalenga's run his race now. But in my opinion, he's been. How long has he been on the go now for? Best part of 10 years at least.
Fight with Dortico, I remember, was the first time I became aware of him.
Was that no part of the tournament, or was it just before the tournament?
No, I think that was just before the tournament. I think he ended up like Monaco or somewhere like that. It was a great fight.
It was a great fight, and he got knocked out later, if I can recall. Then he beats off like Lorena and Masternak and that. All these guys who are kind of like up and coming or are kind of like steady war horses of the division. Of that. For me at this point, Kalenga's now done at title level.
Bye-bye, Kalenga. Clouds Gaming isn't done at title level. He's thrown a £5 in. Have a £5 on me, lads. Great content as always. Go over and check out Clouds Gaming, whatever he's doing over there. I'm sure it's great fun. Thank you for your £5 indeed. Matty, let's hit you with this one hard between the eyes on DAZN next Saturday evening in Baja, California, Tijuana, El Mexico. Jaime Munguia, 38-0, WBO World Boxing Organization, Intercontinental Middleweight title on the line. He takes on 21-0-1 Demetrius Ballard. They keep on linking his name with Canelo and Golovkin and all these other fighters to keep him relevant. Realistically, Golden Boy are going to take it slow. He's still learning, still developing Munguia. This Ballard, last time he stepped up to any meaningful level was against Yamaguchi Falcao, and he ended up with a draw. Do we expect Munguia to do this? Is he going to do it inside the distance, Matty?
I think that Munguia is going to finally get there. I think that he is a level above Ballard, and I think that he's just more comfortable at 160 than he was at 154. Gabe Rosado's a tough nut to crack, man. Not very many people have stopped him, and those that have, it's usually been on cuts, right? So I think he's going to get it done this go around. I'm hoping they throw some good fights on that undercard as well. Tijuana sure looks like a fun place. And they seem to embrace boxing at all levels. Christopher Lovejoy has been able to get his foot in the door down there. So the people of Tijuana obviously love boxing, no matter how good you are at it. They just want to know that you love the sport. And Munguia is going to go in there. He's going to wing some punches, and I think he'll get a stoppage in the last half of the fight.
Munguia stoppage is the prediction from Matty. Let's get on to the big stuff then. Hoping not to hang around for too much longer tonight due to personal circumstances. Ozzy, what about this undercard then? Amir Khan against Kell Brook? I'm having a look through it, and you know what? Could be a bit of a hang-yourself job, this. Vidal Riley's on it. Bradley Ray against Craig McCarthy. Charlie Schofield against Jermaine Brown. Jermaine Brown's not a bad fighter. Natasha Jonas is going in against Chris Namus. Is that a man? Is that a woman? Who knows? This is what's propping up the main event, Ozzy. Is it worth staying up for?
No, not really. I mean, if you're going to bed that early, I mean, I do question what people are doing, but no, the card is poor. But I say I can kind of get it when it's on pay-per-view. There's clearly a lot of dough in the main event already, and they're relying on buys, etc. To make the money back. That saying, that Tasha Jonas is fighting for a vacant world title against. I mean, God knows it's a late replacement anyway. I'm pretty sure she's fighting. I don't know who it is. It's some like Uruguayan. I'm not 100% sure, but I would suspect that the fact that Tasha Jonas is going up to 154 means they're putting her in basically to win a title. Charlie Schofield, Jermaine Brown's a good fight. This is, what Andy Clark was saying before about English title fights. Usually they produce the goods, and this is a really good fight. I actually think Jermaine Brown will win this fight. I think there's some value there. I've watched Charlie Schofield before. He's okay. Can't really punch, which is always going to be a problem at this level. Got beat off Mickey Ellison, I think, on a Steve Wood, or it was either a Steve Wood or a Hennessy card. It was quite local, though, fairly small hall. But I think Jermaine Brown will get the win there, despite being in the away corner. Brad Ray, Craig McCarthy. I'm not going to buy into the 8-0, record. He drew with. You might know a little bit more about Craig McCarthy. Steve is from Ireland. He drew for the BUI Celtic middleweight title against Chris Blaney back in 2019.
Chris Blaney, the Ginger Ninja, used to train under Ricky Hatton, actually.
The Ginger Ninja?
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
So, but I mean, McCarthy's record's pretty padded, to be honest. He's beat 1, 2, 3, 4 fighters that haven't won a fight at all. So says it all, really. So I think Brad Ray will probably knock and cause a lot of problems to Craig McCarthy and probably bang him out big time. Vidal Riley, I don't really know who this guy is. I think he's a bit of like this. I don't know if he's like, is he a YouTuber or something like that?
I think so. But Ames, I think, said before he might have had some kind of amateur pedigree, so I don't think he's a complete no.
Right, but he's fighting Will before Shepo, and I only know him because Callum Johnson banged him out for a Commonwealth title.
After Abraham fought him as well. After Abraham fought him as well, aye, for a world title.
Who fought him?
After Abraham.
After Abraham, that's right. He's from the Canteen.
Yep, that's where.
Right.
Nickname was it the Spider? I think it was.
Yeah, you're right. Bloody hell! God, that was a long time ago. That was
somebody else in Britain, didn't he? It wasn't John.
It was Eubank.
Beat him or Fielding or
no,
somebody beat him.
No, it was Callum Johnson.
Callum Johnson, right? Okay.
Yeah, Callum Johnson knocked him out.
His nickname was the Black Mamba, so be aware.
Right. Well, he's 39. He's Namibian. Vidal Riley's going to knock him out anyway. He's going to well and truly beat the Black Mamba. So I know that's what he's going to be doing. Interesting
fact about the Black Mamba, actually, Ozzy. Black Mambas aren't actually black; they're silver. It's the tongue that's black that gives them the name.
Interesting. Well, I mean, look, we might be able to get Will Beforce on the the podcast next week and ask why he is called the Black Mamba potentially. But no, the rest of the card, is padded out with young prospects. Fraser Clark's on there, which quite disappointing actually. They've not got an opponent name for him. And I do put Fraser Clark in the bracket of Joe Joyce, when he turned over. Clark, look, he's what? God, he must be pushing 30. He's not got time, to be dicking around against shit opponents. And Joe Joyce, when he turned over, fought an Ian Lewison. I'm disappointed Clark's not even got an opponent name, so God knows what fat idiot they're going to pull into the ring for Clark to bang out pretty comfortably. But overall, the undercard is poor. It's really poor. It's a pay-per-view card, Andy Clark was saying, about we don't see enough of area title fights and English title fights. I would rather see an undercard, which is cheap, but, you see competitive, area and English level and British eliminator fights, but they're going to produce the goods rather than some of the shit that's been put on this undercard now. But it is all about the...
Talking about cheap, mate. That cruiserweight title fight for last week, Cody Machunu against Makabu.
I know, yeah.
$150,000 for that entire fight. So how can they put?
No, it was 200, wasn't it? Did Makabu not get 150 and Machunu got 50?
Right, well, 200.
But yeah,
250. So there you go. So there you go. Machunu practically fought for free there last week and got robbed.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, look, I have no sympathy for these morons who even signed with Don King. I mean, crazy. $50,000, less taxes, your camp and stuff like that. God, he's probably walking away with about 15k tops at best. Crazy, but no, back to the black. Yeah, exactly. That's what, you may as well go and punt on it, go and do a coin flip. You might double your purse, or you might walk away with nothing. And after Don King's got older, it's more likely nothing. But no, back to the main event anyway for the weekend coming up. The show isn't great, but it's all about the main event, and we spoke about it already. It's a difficult one to call, in my opinion, because I don't think we know what either fighter has got left. But they've taken it seriously. It's not one of these, silly, it is an over the hill fight in terms of, it's the past the best, but it's not like, a 42 against a 40-year-old. I've toyed with it. I initially picked Kell Brook, but I've flipped, and I think I'm going to go with Amir Khan. I think Khan will beat Brook on points. Quite tight, but maybe about 3 rounds. But it's a fight that, while it's not the best, I'll still be tuning in and watching, albeit I won't be paying for it.
Hey, Dave from Aussie. What about you then, Matty? I'm going for Khan on points as well. Team Khan, never given us a bad fight. Well, I'm sure he probably has done. But right back to the ITV days, Amir has been there. I saw him fight once in person, actually, although it was against Laszlo Komjathi back on the King's Hall undercard back in the day. So I haven't seen any of the big ones, but Amir, always done it for me, whether on the screen, on Skype, whatever. He's always delivering the goods, Matty. Who are you going for on Saturday night?
Hey, and he's been given Donnie Wood for nearly 2 decades at this point in time. So you get your money's worth out of Amir Khan, don't you? He's an entertaining fighter. And I guess if this was a 12-round fight, not a 10-round fight, I think it might be a little more interesting if it goes to the cards. If it goes
definitely 10 then. He did definitely 10.
That's what I saw it on the ESPN schedule.
I struggle to believe that still. Not saying you're not telling the truth, Matthew, but
it's saying 12 on BoxRec, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah.
Maybe it's going to be 11, so there won't be less of a chance of a draw. We'll just average that shit out, right?
Must be a 12, you would imagine, Matty. Must be.
I think that if it goes 12, I think it's more interesting if it goes to the cards. I think it definitely favors Khan if it goes to the cards. But if there's a stoppage, it's definitely going to be Brook. I think what's interesting in this fight is the fact that Khan, it doesn't rely on his timing. Khan relies on his speed. And he always has those attributes to kind of carry him through. Whereas Kell Brook is definitely more of a timing fighter. And he has been out of the ring for half as many months as Amir Khan. So I think we have to wait that a little bit. And I don't think he's going to be as off as people think. I think the story of this fight, if Brook is successful, is going to be if he can start to land his counter jab, because he's got a great counter jab. And if he can get Amir Khan to keep his left hand in his pocket, at that point, the fight's going to be Kell Brook's. Honestly, I think I'm going to have to, I've been up and down on this fight for a while thinking about it. You got guys with, a total of 8 losses between them, and 7 of those are stoppages. So you know what? I think you got to favor the stoppage. And I like Kell Brook because he's just a little bit more active, a little bit harder puncher. I'm going Kell Brook by stoppage.
Kell Brook by stoppage. I had a good question lined up and I've bloody forgotten it now. So I'm going to have to just bring you in, Danny, with the old boring one, Khan versus Brook. Who you got? Are you watching it on Sky? Are you going? Are you looking forward to it? I think it's going to be a decent fight, actually.
Yeah, I think that just card's rubbish, but the main event's pretty good. Like I say, it's 50-50. If I'm going to go off the Amir Khan that fought Samuel Vargas, then I worry about him. And I don't think he's changed much since then either, and potentially has got even worse with the time out of the ring he's had. I'm edging Kell Brook on this one. No real basis to it. I just think that, well, I've got my concerns about him being on the weight, but I don't know. If I'm going to go down to my own personal thoughts, and I think that Kell Brook maybe has got a slightly better chin than Amir Khan. So I'm going to go with Kell Brook on this one, but I'm looking forward to it. Got lads in the bar coming round for it, so it should be a good night.
Should be a good night. I think we're 2 for 2 then, Andy. The decision is going to be yours on this one. I imagine it would be a 12. I know they're both faded. I know they're both done to a certain degree, but that makes it that little bit more fun. They're going to a little bit less pace, a little bit less off the chin. The power might not be there so much. We could have an absolute shitfest. I think there's going to be knockdowns, aren't there?
Could be amazing if you get a double knockout, eh? It'd be absolutely tremendous, man. First round double knockout, and everybody's like, I want my money back. To be honest, actually, I was pretty convinced kill Brook by knockout until Andy Clark was on the call there, and Ozzy was mentioning about the rehydration clause, because it went completely out of my head actually. And obviously, Brook's been he's been a clear welterweight now, isn't he? So. What is he, 35? It's not going to be easy. So hopefully he makes it safely and he maintains it and doesn't take too much of it himself. Because it's one thing I hate, actually. I remember back to Miguel Cotto against Daniel. Was it Daniel Gill? I think it was Daniel Gill. He drained the fucking life out of Daniel Gill. Daniel Gill, for fuck's sake, can't punch an egg, right? But Cotto drags him down in weight and he looks shit and he gets stopped. So I didn't want anything. We didn't want anything like that. Brook looking absolutely dreadful on the scales and then phoning it in. People were talking about Liam Williams there last week and that apparently dumping, was it 14 pounds, I think it was, the week of the fight or 3 or 4 days before the fight. Then he did anything like that. So, but I'm going to say Khan comes out blistering. He's going to be on point. I'll say he wins the first 6 rounds, like he did against Canelo. Jab, move, just keep it simple. Just keep the boxing. If he's still got the speed, if he's still got the legs, and that, I can see him possibly winning it on points. But, and this is the big thing with Khan, there's a moment in the fight he switches off. There's always a fight that he switches off. And he gets dropped, or
How
he gets
bad is
dropped out. And exactly, mate. It's how bad does he get hurt? How bad does he get dropped? And can he get up for it? This is what I'm thinking about now. If Kell can't find that shot, for example, then so be it. But I still think Khan, who's always been susceptible to have moments or lapses in fights, concentration lapses, and he gets caught over the top. He like, for example, I think he was swinging a left hook at Canelo at the time that right hand came over. He was throwing a right uppercut, a lead right uppercut to mid-distance against Danny Garcia, where he could counter him with a left hook to the throat and got knocked out off that just about. So these wee things, basically. So if he keeps it simple, jab, right hand, move, fight like he did against Kotelnik, he will be golden. He will win the fight. He'll piss it out the park. But as I say, it's just that but. He can get caught by a shot, and again, if he can hold it, fine. If he can't, I think Brook will get to him. So I'm going to say Brook, possibly by late stoppage. I'm going to go around about the 9th or 10th round mark.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised to see Khan win it on points. But again, as I say, I just think he's got this issue of switching off in fights. It might just switch his lights out.
Lights are going out. I'm looking forward to it. I am indeed. Ricky Gravil's looking forward to it as well. He's throwing 449 in the super chat. Did you cut that bean clip, Stephen? Absolutely, Richard. Absolutely, I did. It's coming in Bellew of the Week very shortly. I just threw it out there. Post-fight pod, lads. What we saying? What do you think, Andy? You're the master of this. How many likes should we ask for to do a post-fight pod? Because, you know what I mean? We can take it or leave it.
Well, we've got 25 minutes, but I know you need to be in your bed within 26 minutes, sorry. So, yeah.
Yeah, but afterwards, the boys are going to be listening to this afterwards during the week, so there's no excuse for them not putting it on the YouTube. The thumbs up.
I suppose.
Only if I get 3 minutes for the Showtime card.
Yes, you will. Don't worry.
Okay.
500.
500 likes.
Well, I won't be on next week. I'm out on the gas next Saturday, so I will not be on the post-fight pod, but I will be on the Sunday.
If we get 200 by what time on Friday, Andy?
If we get, I'll tell you what, if we get 150, we'll get Amir Khan on Skype, and then we'll do it.
By the way, keep an eye out next week for the thumbnail. I've got it cut already. You're going to enjoy the thumbnail next week.
Yes. Do you know one thing I'm disappointed with actually?
Wow.
There's no women on the undercard. Oh, there is actually.
There is.
Tasha Jonas is on the undercard, which we might see more Bean footage next weekend actually. Yes, you know.
I'll tell you what.
Bean's eyes are going to be lighting up seeing Tasha Jonas in her little fucking knickers on that scale. Bean will be loving it.
Did you see them slip and move there, mate? That was like prime Mike Tyson trying to get between the fucking
Andy,
bodies.
Don't worry, it's coming. It's coming.
I said it last week. You know, Bean. It was a Bean weekend. He had his foot fetish with the slippers. He was perving on the girls on the fucking scales. It was a Bean weekend.
They're world treasures.
Right. So what number are we going for then, Andy?
150.
150.
by the close of day by 5 p.m. Friday. Yeah.
By Thursday, so I can go and get a bottle of whiskey to fucking kill the pain.
Hey, 5 p.m. Thursday. 150
There you
thumbs
go.
up.
What a deal!
No thumbs
What a
downs. Come on, you tight bastards.
Yeah.
Right.
Every thumbs down goes against the thumbs up.
Do you ever notice the moaning cunts in the chat never put any super chats in? It's only Ricky Gravel was putting in the super chats these days.
It's always the likes of Ricky and Ryan and Michael and Des and
Ricky's dealer been raging at him, by the way.
Where's Declan tonight?
Declan Graffin, aye.
Ricky G deserves the credit for the super chats. What I won't give him credit for is some of the vile videos that he has posted on his Twitter recently. I can watch pretty much anything, but some of the stuff he has put up is on another level. My God,
that one
if you
disgraceful.
Oh, if you do want to, if any listeners do want to tune into Ricky Gravel's videos, you can follow him at RickyGR537-26526.
Yeah, be quick, Ozzy, because he'll probably be iced by the end of tonight.
Yeah, but he's got burners on, mate. So if you go to Ricky Gravel at 74,
or if you just search, he's just retweeted a picture of topless British soap stars, Daniela Westbrook. So and Natalie Emmanuel as well. So yeah, it's all happening on Ricky Gravel's Twitter account tonight.
I thought you said it was bad things. I was sitting here thinking, like it takes two hands for me to count the number of times that I've seen a Serbian film, so I can tolerate a lot of shit.
You ain't seen nothing yet, man.
Mate,
you
watched
God.
You're a fucking filthy bastard. You watched that film, mate.
I'm just watching a video now, and it looks like he's either got some sort of like bear or panda or something eating a bloke. So yeah, it's all happening on Ricky G's Twitter tonight.
I think it's see the thing is Ricky's the Twitter accounts, they get cancelled, right? And then he refollows me, so I'm like, well, I fucking follow him back because it will last the fucking day. And then you fucking notice you got like Ricky Gravel follows you, and then, 5 years later you got another Ricky Gravel, and another Ricky Gravel's following you. Like, what the fuck?
Andy, at least he can remake burner accounts.
Jay can't. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to Chris Burns, thrown in a 179. Jacob came again. Jay didn't. Thank you very much, Chris. Pressure's on you, Joe Burns, if you're out there. There's a 179 coming from Chris Burns. Come on, see if you can up him with a 189 perhaps. Right, Matty, this Showtime card, I think I went through it on the schedule, but I neglected to mention it. Jorge Linares, by the way, is fighting Zor Abdullayev out in Russia next week. We're not going to talk about that. You're going to talk about a completely different card. The floor is yours.
Yes, but that could be a candidate for knockout of the year. You never know with Linares, right?
Possibly.
So on Showtime on Friday, so you guys wake up on Saturday morning, you'll have a chance to watch this. You're going to have a good card. You got a lightweight fight between Jermaine Ortiz and Nahir Albright. Albright lost his pro debut. He has not lost since then, constantly increasing his opposition. His last two opponents combined 30-2. Ortiz was dropped a couple times his last fight. I'm thinking that Albright might come in as an underdog on this one, so keep your eye on that. 168-pound fight between Joseph George, 11-0, against Sean Hemphill, 14-0. That could be an interesting one. And then you have Paul Kroll against Marquis Taylor. Paul Kroll 9-0. Marquis Taylor 12-1-1 with only one stoppage. Both of them share an opponent with Luke Santamaria, with Paul Kroll winning a wide decision over him in 2020, and Marquis Taylor getting a draw with Santamaria. But Taylor has had a good level of opposition, so that it's a good Showtime fight per usual. Showbox delivering with good fights between prospects looking to take their next step up. So when you guys wake up on Saturday morning, go ahead and catch your recording of that one.
Thank you, Matthew. Only 62 likes at the minute, says Matthew Russell. Apparently. Ricky Graville had what was it, Andy?
There was so there's a video. Is this a video you're talking about here?
Yeah.
With the guy shagging the dead spawn.
What the fuck?
Exactly. And he actually raw dogged it as well, man. What the fuck?
So I don't want to see that. Like, I know everything in bad movies is fake. Yeah, I don't like watch faces of death and shit. What the fuck?
Yeah, I know.
This is why I always think, whenever people say, "Oh, I listen to the show," and then I always think of moments like this, and I think, "Oh my god."
Yeah, it's like Andy Clark, sorry, mate. I mean, this is shit we get to at this point in life, you know.
Duke McKenzie, like, can I listen in, lads? And I'm like, oh God, no. I feel like I'm letting Duke down.
You
Talk
never
to
hear
people
back from
shagging
David
dead
Dixon,
swans.
eh? Jesus, mother God.
Don't call us, we'll call you. Anyway, right, let's get on to the value of the week for episode 461. Feels like we're there already. Andy's here, so's Matty, so's Danny, so's Ozzy. We've had John Ryder, we've had Andy Clark on with us as well. We've had a laugh so far. Let it continue with value of the week. We had a message straight afterwards on Monday. I can't remember who cut this, but thank you anyway. Someone was inquiring about value of the week. They were close to winning, and they were wondering, this is slander. Didn't even know about value of the week. Come on, Audley, you should know better than that.
Value of the week. What was that? Wait, somebody said you narrowly just missed out on value of the week, mate. Was close. You and Bean. What Bean? Tell me more. What does that mean? I'm clueless what you're talking about, buddy. What does that mean? Share some insights with me. Value of the week. Hello. I just got to let you know.
Oh my God! How does he let poor Audley know he basically got nominated for Asshole of the Week and narrowly lost?
Between him and Bean. Oh man, good old Audley. Great stuff. Talking to Bean, Ricky Graville, a recent super chatter of Dead Swan fame, sent this one to me during the week. Bean getting stuck in on some weighing action. Well, it'd be rude not to from old Bean.
I got playing Mike Tyson there, wasn't he, with the head movement?
Man, in some of those situations, you got to feel for those guys. Like the classic picture of Joe Rogan and Misha Tate. Have you seen the ass on Misha Tate? Like, that takes a lot of restraint to look away.
You're not blaming Bean then, Matty?
Yeah,
it's difficult, isn't it, in that situation?
No, actually, I'll blame him on making it so blatant that he is taking a look. Like, that's what looks bad. Like, Rogan was, like, doing everything in his power not to look, whereas Bean was doing everything in his power to look. So that's why it's bad. Like, you don't do it like that. It makes you look like scuzz. But, of course, we want to look, but you don't, like, dude, get the fuck out of my way. I'm trying to look at her ass. That's a bad look on him on that one. It's all about the how.
As Michael Thompson says, peak Bean, Andy, peak Bean.
Peak Bean, mate, aye. Just a pity to have the boat of ketchup with him as well, actually. Gave that a wee shaking off,
Shout out to Danny Young on the pod. Getting the old credit card out, phoning a fiver. Class guest tonight and a fiver from me to nominate myself for Value of the Week after my £98 taxi home from Paddington to Reading. Come on, Danny. Unmute yourself. It's time to reveal it. You're with friends here. Unburden this.
So basically, like, I haven't been into London for quite some time because of the COVID and all that. But normally,
either, but sounds it.
I know. But normally, like, trains out of Paddington are like well past 1 o'clock. So I thought, it won't be a problem. I'll get out. It'll be a doddle. Fucking hell, was it a doddle? So like, got as far as Paddington, and I was like, we are fucked here. So Uber. All the way home. Yeah, not great.
But I knew it, cunts.
Is that what the bear is named after?
£98, man. That's one headache this morning for old Danny for Value of the Week nomination. Don't worry.
Was you even drunk?
Oh, I was sobered up by that point, mate. Believe me.
As soon as he told you the price, I'd say you're sobered up, all right.
No wonder, mate. You probably need to bend your ass out of the fucking taxi bonnet to get fucking pay that shit off, man.
To be honest with you, I felt fingered when I got in, so yeah.
Okay.
Lucky you, Danny. Lucky you. There's a nomination for Value of the Week from Danny for himself. David Coleman got in touch at the Asylum Value of the Week channel, nominated Adam Schmidt. Virgil Ortiz has no defence, and Conor Benn has very good accuracy and can be slick at times. If Robles can implement defence into Virgil's skill set, then I'd say Virgil could win. But as of right now, Conor beats him easily. The Fiend boxing. Talk about Fiend there, Andy. Conor beats Virgil easily, apparently.
Yeah, apparently it does so, but Conor Benn's on the commentary last night talking about what's good for other fighters' careers, but when fans, for example, discuss what's good for Conor's career, it's like he's not ready for that, mate. Having Essien talking about how he's put the welterweight division on notice and calls out like fucking Robert Guerrero, Adrian Brunner, who's like just off the back end of coke binge and fucking rehab, like a homeless bum. You know, fucking hell, man. Just get in the ring and fight somebody who, by the way, it's going to be Chris Van Heerden that we're here next as well.
Oh.
So we'll wait and see. But clearly, I think Eddie's going to be pushing this guy as like the pay-per-view star as such, I think, in that. But he's under pressure, actually, because if he loses Ben and Joshua gets beaten in his next fight.
He's under pressure. He's struggling. Matthew Russell's not
Under
struggling.
pressure.
Though. No comment. He's dropped in a fiver here. This is his body of work. Thanks for that $5 on the Super Chats, Matthew. Very much appreciated. Let's have a look what else we've got here. Belly of the Week nominated from our friend Take Ames, of chat fame and also of interviewing fame. One of the best interviewers around, if not the best, in my opinion, is Take Ames. But fighter facts, according to Boxing King Media, it's a tough night for Jorgelina Giannini going in against Ellie Scotney for the vacant WBA Super Bantamweight title. And then later on in the evening, going in against Johnny Fisher. Why not get battered twice for the price of one for Miss Giannini? I think they made a bit of a mistake on the rundown there. Good spot from Ames. Thomas Carty making a fight announcement. Delighted to announce I've been added to the Mick Conlan versus Lee Wood card. Big shout out to my manager, Dillian White, for the opportunity, blah, blah, blah. Mikey Sanchez, nominated by Mick Shenzi and friend of the pod, Kevin Byrne. This card is frigging stacked of top fights, says Mikey. I think this may go down as the best fight card in ages. Move aside Don King, 90 years young, Andy. You might be dying, but this is the best fight card in ages, according to Mikey Sanchez. Couldn't tell you what else was on it, but Conlan Wood is on the main event.
Yeah, so who's this guy, Tom Carty, fighting?
No idea. No opponent has been named as of yet, I don't think. But no doubt they'll put him in against somebody handy.
Well, I would say that the most positive thing to come out of this, at least Thomas McCarty?
Yeah.
At least he's managed to locate Dillian White because Frank Warren can't.
Where's he hiding? Do you think? Where's he hiding?
Behind his lawyer, I think. The sounds. So he's got to the He's got to the 19th, which I think's next Saturday. I think it is Friday, Saturday. I think.
Mm-hmm.
To
Well,
sign
it's
the
Saturday,
contract.
isn't it? Because the card.
Aye. He's got to sign the contract. If not, all bets are off.
This is seriously like when we got to see Floyd against Canelo along with Matisse against Danny Garcia. You know, you're up there card.
Not quite, but let me tell you, Ozzy, this is the card. Let me see if you agree with the statement of Mr. Sanchez, the best card. You've got Gary Cully going against Miguel Vasquez, Terry Harper against Heather Hardy, Jorge David Castaneda against Kid Galahad, Kevin Ajarko against TBA, and Sandy Ryan in a question mark times 2 rounds against Erika Annabella Farias. Gets me buzzing.
I recognise that name,
I mean,
Farias.
I'm glad I'm sat down because it's that good. I would have collapsed at the quality of it. I mean, fuck me. You know, what a card. You know, Mikey Sanchez, you know, hiding behind, who the fuck is that in his profile picture? Yeah, clearly hasn't got a fucking clue. I mean, the amusing thing is that he's gone Bulu over the fact that Thomas Carty being added to it means it is now frigging stacked and it makes it one of the best cards of the decade. Thomas Carty will probably fight some absolute no mark, some like fucking cabbage, and it'll make it, one of the best cards in the decade. These idiots just haven't got a fucking clue. That they are clueless, and I don't even know how to describe them really. You know, apart from just repeatedly insulting them numerous times because. You know, it's decent. You know, I think it's fairly solid if you're into women's boxing. There's a couple of fights on there that, you know, like might excite you. But overall, you know, it's decent. But fuck me, fight card in decades. This guy's not got a fucking clue.
Well, hang on. Let me add a twist to it.
Ooh.
So, we all know Sandy Ryan's views on the Falklands. It just so happens that her next opponent is from Argentina. Something to be said. Falklands.
El Diego.
La Pantera.
So
one's on Andy, lob off the balcony.
Mate, listen, I will talk to you about that one actually at a later date. But Mon's on. I'm a big fan of the old El Cocaine.
Cocaine.
Aye, there he is. There's the man. I was just thinking, what was her comments about the Argentinian or the Falkland situation, by the way? Because
we'll never forget.
Exactly.
That was it.
It needs to be justice for that royal, by the way. They got destroyed, and for Simon Weston's face. So we need to get this sorted out.
Was it Ricky Gervais or that had the joke about the way that your military advantage over Argentina was basically the equivalent of like holding a midget out at arm's length and repeatedly kicking him in the testicles?
Oh dear. Right, let's move on, shall we? Ian, Captain Chunk has nominated Conor McGregor, Tyson Fury, rapping Rob Kelly. They're going back and forward. Joe Joyce's name's getting mentioned here. Are you sitting back with a bit of popcorn, Rob, to this Fury versus McGregor feud?
Yeah, jeez, I didn't know anything about this. Up the Joyce's Big Joe. You bottled it with Billy Joe there. What were you doing there? You left him Versace twat. You done nothing. The Mac Daddy tonight in Miami D12 Bahamas Sky Juice. I don't know. McGregor's tweets are kind of and social media posts lately are kind of along the lines of fucking they're a bit. I don't want to say he's taking his cue from Cleverly, but he's up there. You know that way?
Makes Isaac Lowe look like Tolstoy, doesn't he?
But I tell you what, forget about Jake Paul and all these guys that can fucking generate pay-per-view money. If fucking Tyson Fury and Conor McGregor meet in a straightener with Big Joe Joyce fucking showing fair play, that's fucking gonna fucking absolutely batter any other pay-per-view numbers, let me tell you. So yeah, up the Joyces.
I don't know
all the traveler community, by the way, not taking particular sides in any of them.
My son, betcha.
I don't know about you guys, but Versace twat is in my vocabulary officially. That's fucking great.
So I think if you look at Versace twat, so if you look at that under the dictionary, you're looking at some sort of like fucking gay guy with a piano. I tell you what.
Rufus Wainwright?
Liberace, is that Liberace?
Liberace, I think you're thinking of.
Was that the guy? Is the Father Ted joke where Dougal says, "Who was that guy? Ted was so good at fashion, they killed him."
Classic Father Ted. Here we are, Jeremiah Plenty, the second. That's Plenty. Do you remember last time when a young talented boxer lost at the Olympics, then became the greatest boxer ever? 50-0, 4 different weight classes, and one of the richest athletes in the world. At Shakur Stevenson. Hashtag I've seen this before. And Mad Scorpion says Floyd got to 50-0 because he fought leftovers, boxers that didn't go the distance his entire career. He only fought 3 undefeated boxer in 20-year career. Floyd, the leftover man, all-time cherry picker. Getting nominated there, Rob, from Hands of Stone, the all-time cherry picker.
Who could argue with the fucking Hands of Stone, man? If he says it, then that's what it is. You know what I mean? Shakur Stevenson needs to stop with this as well, by the way. Everybody, all these fighters fucking... Devin Haney's another one, isn't he? Anytime they can draw a parallel between them and Floyd, they'll post it on social media. Just fucking do it. If you're going to be the next Floyd Mayweather, just go and fucking do it. Stop fucking... What's that 6 exclamation marks? Yeah. Look at me, I'm just like Floyd, exclamation marks. Angry ones. Fuck off, like. Go and fight. But yeah. I think Shakur Stevens is a great fighter. I don't think he's going to emulate Floyd's career somehow.
Floyd. High bar. Ronnie Hussein, sorry I haven't dropped a tip lately. We'll be back on it. Get back on it. Make sure you do, Ronnie. Good to see you in the chat there. Joseph Ajayo is having a bit of beef with Bryce back and forward. Bryce, or whatever you are called, refrain from following me. Otherwise, you won't like what will happen to you. Last warning, says the doctor. He's going to start throwing bombs at Bryce. It's getting personal. It's getting tougher over on Twitter land. We shall move on before we get involved in this one. Arthur Day, and that's Brian King, has nominated Ryan at RyanST16_. Met my idol today, Bosch. Which one's he referring to here, Andy? Eddie's there down in the bottom. We've got the blonde bomber. Not sure who the other ones are.
The one in the top right is Johnny Fisher's dad, I'm sure.
Right,
the one is that Johnny Fisher in the bottom left there, I think, possibly?
Oh, there you are.
They know who's that dickhead in the right there, actually, the bottom right picture.
Is that the Botox Lego sex doll?
Oh, there we go. That's who it is, mate. What's happened with the fucking Dulux and the fucking beard he's got there, man? He needs to get that washed out.
These days, the sex doll is just rattling. Everywhere you go, it's just rattling.
And by the way, Bosch, he fucking, what do you call him? James English has even had her on the podcast, man. James fucking English. Fucking hell, man.
Steve, I got to make an apology.
Oh, yes.
I got to make an apology. So I did text the Boxing Nutters messenger group while I was at the fight and said that Miss Bridges was in sight, and should I get a photo with her? Obviously, a lot of people asked for it, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So sorry.
Oh, why not? Come on.
I get accused of all sorts by you lot, so that's a good start. That's a good reason not to.
Here's be your old man, mate. Fuck everybody
So I
else.
just gone up to her and said, "So I see you have some tattoos." She would have fucking been all over that, man.
Can I see the findings, mate? See the findings, mate?
So tell us about the tattoos, Ebony.
Only if you're wearing your sunglasses inside.
I'll snort that ink off your legs, bitch.
Well, what about snorting this ink? Joe Calzaghe picture. He's got a fine pair on him. A Kimru Ambi by portrait has been nominated by Cedric Sniff. Now I'm going to say, look, when it comes to these pictures and stuff, we have a bad record with these pictures. This guy, I was looking at his record. I was looking at his other drawings, and he is a good drawer. They're hit and miss. Maybe not so much hit with the Calzaghe one here, but some of the other ones are good, Rob. So I think it's fair.
This one is more hit and miss. This is more photo fit and miss. This one is.
Yeah. Can I just ask a question? Is he an Everton fan? The guy who drew this picture?
No, it's not.
Right, okay, he's a dickhead.
Calzaghe was a little loose in the chest area. He really didn't have,
yeah, and he didn't have the type of biceps. He didn't have the guns.
Kiss the muscles. Kiss the muscles is looking broody in that one, isn't he? No lips. It's just waiting for the fucking Crime Stoppers music to come in. Don't remember, sleep tight.
Jack WD in the chat that says that he drew it in Welsh.
Have you ever thought that? You ever thought that, like, for one
looks
year,
like a long train station.
just a long word. It would be great for just 1 year in a courtroom to have the person that does caricatures at the beach doing the courtroom drawings. I think that would put a whole different mood into murder trials.
No, you know what they need? Ozzy, do you remember that guy who used to draw boxing pictures and then work got a bit tough and he started drawing pictures of like people shagging and all and like
God, those really like explicit pictures. He was like blokes shagging women up the arse and like really random stuff, wasn't he?
Who was it?
Oh,
let's not do it on the couch.
I can't remember.
I blame it on the dog.
I'll find out. I'll find out now. I think John Evans on the
He's quite well known, isn't he?
I thought it was Donnie.
7 years. Exactly.
He took 7 years to get there, though.
7 years. 7 years to draw that picture. It took him. Anyway, let's move on. Lions in the camp. Mystic SZN says Frank Warren and Bob Arum are the past. Eddie Hearn and Jake Paul are the future boxing promotion.
Kellen Hart, that's who it was, mate. Kellen Hart.
Oh, right. Okay, there you go. Couldn't remember. Kellen Hart. Yeah, future boxing promotion.
Fuck, man, like Jake Paul's hair is translucent.
Looks like he's having a great time there.
Go back to look at Eddie there, mate. He's got his Botox and he's got the fucking plugs fucking shaped back there, looking good.
You just wish you had a full head of hair and high cheekbones,
mate,
too.
do I fuck? How much money and time did Eddie puts into that hair? Obviously, I don't know how much hair plugs cost. Must cost a couple of grand at least, right? I'm fucking au natural. Wow, he's fucking unnatural. What the fuck?
It's a business expense if you know how to work your taxes.
Women still find me sexy, man. Fucking Eddie's got to fucking pay for his.
Yeah, Patrick Killian Art, by the way, boys, is the drawer. It's not Art Man who's got iced off Twitter, by the way. Art Man.
Twitter, the Mexicans called him out last night. He took the bait, mate.
Is that what it was? Right?
Beautiful to see.
R.I.P. Art Man. Next one here. Just Les says, if DAZN goes pay-per-view, I'm not buying it and I'm cancelling. I can stream their fights for free anyway. I only pay because it's reasonable. And then Fat Dan gets jumped in with a load of alerts. Hey, DAZN Boxing, might want to look into theft here. That's bad form from down there, Andy.
Big grass.
A fucking tout. An absolute tout. That's what he is. But
they must be giving him a coupon for a free Big Mac every time you report someone.
Nah, mate, it doesn't matter. He's a tout.
The fat cunt. Yeah, he's a fat cunt, mate. He can fuck off. I don't know why he's doing that.
Exactly. He's
been on the DAZN bandwagon for a little while now, hasn't he? Tweeting out all sorts, just left, right, centre.
I'm going to keep names quiet and off the air here, but I've had people within Sky, BT, professional fighters actually DM me or have their mates DM me asking for links, right? So they're at it as well. So we're all fraternity here. We're all brothers at the end of the day and that. So
he's all up in arms about this.
Fucking grass.
He's all up in arms about someone stealing his own subscription, but he's fine. Like interviewing all the MTK fighters. That's fine. Who are a great bunch of lads.
100% agree with him, Rob.
Yeah, exactly. And he should interview them. I'm just saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing wrong there. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here either. Here's Bunsey. Steve Bunt's boxing correspondent.
I remember where that was it. That was an interview Nigel Benn did way back, obviously.
Holy fuck, man. He looks like the last member of the Young Ones.
He looks like a distraught Jeremy Clarkson.
It looks like Boris Johnson after he has to change his hair color and to get it with a high from everybody.
Look at fucking Bonds. Look at him.
It's what kind of style is that? Is it short top and a long sides? I don't.
That's
it's either that or do the Shields hairline. What would you do, Rob?
Well, I wouldn't sit in the chair and say, give me the long back and sides anyway.
I walk in and I say 00. That's all I walk in for. That's all I say. 00, baby.
Hold on, say.
Who are these cowards that are finding old pictures of Steve Bunce? Cowards.
I know. Going back 30 years to find them to.
Sad bastards.
Fuck's sake, get a life.
Get a fucking life.
Get a life. Mighty Max says Tony Bellew is hilarious and so naturally likable. Should definitely be in the Hall of Fame. Joe Kennedy.
He's at it there. He's at it, Mighty Max.
Gotta be,
Mr. Personality.
Was Bellew X from the Zone last night? Because I didn't see him doing the things with.
Didn't see him, Dan.
Rosado and Connor.
Just leave him alone.
Leave him alone. He's spending time with his wife and kids. Dan, just leave him alone, won't you?
Yeah,
sorry, Anthony.
Once it disappear.
Fella can't have a weekend off.
Tony died.
That'll be the end of him now, like Maya Jama. We'll never see him again. Right, anyway.
Well, I'll see her again. Speak for yourselves.
On Boxing 420 UK. I'm nominating thirsty alleged boxing fans. Blonde Bomber tweeted out, look who snuck into my bed tonight. Bloody Levy Steffi. Big Jurassic says, chat about last night's boxing and how Usyk will do against Fury, then pillow fight in your pants as standard, I'm guessing. Fuck's sake, don't let us all down. And then Jimmy says, I wish I could sneak into your bed, not for sleep either. And then Banjo Split kind of went one above and beyond. He said, fucking strap one on and smash one into it then. don't want to see any of that muffin out rubbish, get balls deep. What a romantic.
Jesus Christ almighty, man.
Well, there's no couth left in the
world.
There's no couth left in the world.
What? OnlyFans is still an option then?
Against that Facebook group?
Yeah.
Against the Ebony Bridges Facebook group, what?
I actually had one. I'll come back to it. I have one for. Let me see if I can WhatsApp it to you quickly, Steve. For my nominations.
I'll try and get it.
Excuse me, sir. This is Twitter, not a chatterbait line.
Right. Andy, you sent me this one. Who did it better, Chris Lloyd and this gentleman? That looks like someone going up to Ebony, I think, there, Andy.
that pitch on the right-hand side is one of those pictures you get taken in the nightclubs and that when there's like, parties going on over and that. So as you can see, the young lady on the right's got fake tan up her neck, on the knuckles, not that type of thing. I forget who the female on the left is. It's an Australian boxer. What's her name again?
Sky Nichols.
Chris Lloyd done pretty well last night. Not to look at her cleavage because it was pretty well exposed. So well done to Chris Lloyd for bypassing that, not being a typical toxic alpha male, basically.
Yeah.
No time
down with that sort of thing.
Yeah, no time for toxic alpha males on this show.
Who's got the bigger tits, though? Chris Lloyd or that woman?
The Joe Kazagi portrait.
It's all kicking off in. It's all kicking off in Clev's household. Ricky Graville sending a King Clev update.
Yeah.
Is he praying? Is he seriously praying or what's going on?
Yeah, he's praying.
What is going on?
He's in front of the fucking God Squad channel on fucking Sky on his knees playing the bearded man asking for a favour. They fucking save his dog.
I think he might have converted to Islam and he's tripping out and thinks his dog is a prayer rug.
No, man, the dog is out of it anyway.
Move, Sparky, move.
I think the dog obviously must have found the fucking stash of fucking weed and just chewed right through it.
The dog's just cut £10 nice and easy.
Well, mate, he's not going to be up at the count of 10 in the fucking statement like that.
Up at 8. The dog is up at 8.
In fact, it looks like a bitch here, actually, considering the been teats here, so it must be a bitch.
Is he sacrificing the dog?
Oh, it's all crackers. Right, Rob, I've got yours come through here. Let's look at it live and exclusively here.
Here we go.
Sebastian Maru. Hi, boxing fans. I'm doing some research on how Ebony Bridges' brand experience influences the intention to watch her fights. I'd really appreciate if you could fill out this short survey. 5 minutes. Retweet. Much appreciated. Promoted tweet, Rob. Where'd you find this one?
Well, it was promoted, obviously, so it was fucking somewhere in
Did
the
you fill it out?
algorithms between me. No, I didn't. I thought I'd throw it to the listeners, so I think you can see the guy's fucking Twitter handle there. So why don't you go onto his Twitter profile and engage him? He's obviously for some fucking what does he want to know? Like, yeah, exactly. So he wants to know: will anybody who's maybe suggesting that Ebony Bridges straps up? How interested they are in her fights, basically. That he wants to see what the correlation is between the perverts that follow around Ebony Bridges and pay-per-view numbers. I'm sure there's method to his madness somewhere. I can't see what he's trying to achieve from this, but maybe the listeners could help him out and fill out their quick survey.
Well, I certainly know if we forward it on, the Gad would like to respond.
He write a fucking dissertation. He get around and get a thesis instead of a fucking survey. Muhammad Ali.
Leave it to 12 pages, please, Gad. That's all we need. And finally, this one has come in. Yeah, I'm a bit worried about this one. But we'll see where we end up.
Very good holiday, Jamie. That's
Jamie
the thing,
McDonald. Lovely day trip today around Auschwitz. Opens your eyes a lot. A few selfies.
I'm just thinking there, right? So he
what was on his
mind,
man?
Well, the thing is, Robbie, he's got the earphones and clearly talking about the time when some poor Jewish person got put on the slab, had his teeth pulled out before he got put in the fucking fire, and they're standing there like, let's have a fucking selfie. Fuck me.
Like, honestly, man, like, everything don't have to go on social media. Put it that way, right? Sometimes you can just visit a place or have to take a picture just to show that you were there. That's probably a good example. That's as much as I can say about this topic.
I mean, it's not classy to take a picture of yourself at sites at Auschwitz. It's even less classy to have a shit-eating grin on your face when you're taking pics at Auschwitz like that. Like, it's like right next to the gas chambers. OMG, still best hot dogs in Poland, in Germany. You know, like...
Stop him now.
I know Jamie was going through a bad time with the missus. I don't know if this is his baby mama, for example, but if it is, what a hell of a holiday to fucking patch it up with by. Let's go to fucking Auschwitz. Fuck me.
We'll leave that one. Back to Ebony and the Gad pretty quickly. That's all the ones I've got, but that's probably more than enough for this week. We've had a good laugh, haven't we? Let's see what the boys have got. Matthew, starting with you, what have you got for Belly of the Week, episode 461?
I had something, but I lost it. Come back to me and see if I can find where the shit I wrote that down here.
Can't guarantee I will come back, Matty. You know what my head's like, but I'll try my best. Andy, anything from you?
Yeah, I've got a few, mate. Jamal Charlo doing everything he can to duck fights, getting arrested for battering his fucking family or household members. I believe he got arrested the other day there. Was it the 12th, I think it was? Yesterday, I think it was. At 10 in the morning for smacking the shit out of somebody. So Jamal needs to quell that anger a wee bit and just fucking date on the ring.
They said he beat up someone in his family. Was it Jermel or Jamal? Did he beat up? Was it the other one?
Jamal.
So was he beat up someone in the family? I'm wondering, was it the brother? I don't think he has much to be worried about, man. Like, I think boxers normally get off pretty good on the assault charges. It's when you cross the world into something more sinister, you get a bit, you're tight. Look at Kovalev, like. Kovalev had about 4 fucking pay-per-view fights where he was up on charges for fucking smacking ones around on airplanes and all that. People don't give a shit about that, man. He'll be all right. Chad will be back fighting again. Uncle Al will tie that up. You see, good lawyer, he'll get off of that. Like.
Thing is, Andy, though, like I said to Rob, it's a pity they don't let their hands go as frequently in the ring.
Yeah, exactly.
These boys want to do outside.
This is the fucking thing. I wanted to bring up Ryan Garcia just off the back end of this. He's got a nomination as well for other shit that he's talking recently after saying that, you know, he split for Team Canelo because he wanted independence, wanted his own gym, wants to build a better brand. This fucking dude's got some nerve. He's fought 4 times in 4 years. He's fucking talking about building a brand. Fucking fight. Then you can build a brand, you cunt. You're saying, like, say, for example, I think it's time. It's like having your own apartment. You get tired of renting, so you want to go and get your own place. No, dude, it's not like that. You're a fucking boxer.
He's a prick, isn't he? Like, I was all on the Ryan Garcia hype train after the Campbell fight, and I was like, yes, let's get these fucking fights made. He's talking that shit about Gervonta. Let's get him in there. Like, make these fights happen. And then I thought back, remember he fucking made contract with Golden Boy through a big strop as well, didn't he, on YouTube, and had he renegotiated his terms with Oscar, like, pretty much through the media. He's had a mental health break, which I'm not against. Obviously, everybody fucking has. Jesus Christ, man. The amount of fucking nervous breakdowns I'm almost after having, I can't even count them. So I can empathize with anybody that's going through something. But I honestly think that it's all a bit disingenuous, the way he plays it out on social media. And I think there may be a party lifestyle that he's hiding there to the public in a major way. And that's because Canelo made some comments about him, didn't he? Like saying, like, you know, we were all big Ryan Garcia fans, but we want to see him do it in the ring. If there was genuine mental health stuff going on there, I don't think Canelo would make comments like that. Like, I don't think he's that kind of character. I think he was reading between the lines there. I think there was something more to that. Like, so Goosen is a strange choice, I think, for me, as a replacement for Reynoso as well, by the way. But for a fighter like Ryan Garcia, he would have been the last trainer I would have thought he'd go to. Not that he's not a good trainer, but
he's going on about, like, say, he wants to be like, he's becoming a strong man. He's making his own decisions. That's the bottom line. You need to respect that. He's not a kid. This type of bollocks, not. You know, I think he even said something along the lines of, you know, he felt like his brand can hold up just like Floyd Mayweather's. I mean, fucking hell. You know, Floyd Mayweather's brand compared to fucking Ryan Garcia. Now, I know Floyd's getting sued a fair bit these days, and that. I know Jake Paul's or Logan Paul's got him in the thing of that, but come on, your legacy is built in the fucking ring. What happens outside of that, you build off what you do, your success in the ring. You can't fucking do it. This is the fucking problem with these kids nowadays. They think because they've got like 1 million, 2 million followers on Instagram, fucking whatever it is, they think they're stars. You go fucking Dave Haney and Teofimo Lopez arguing at Ringside about fucking how many followers I've got. I'm like, dude,
I used to think that too. But really what it is we're dinosaurs, because nothing's real anymore. Money's not real. It's fucking magic beans. Fucking JPEGs are worth money now. The metaverse is
more
a
than
fucking
4
real
channels,
thing.
Rob.
Yeah, where people can't buy land that doesn't exist in a fucking virtual. So what the fuck do we know? You know what I mean? Ryan Garcia's maybe he's getting a gym in the metaverse.
And
we don't know.
The Baby Shark song has 10 billion views on YouTube, and Jack the Ripper doesn't have 1 million on Spotify, Rob. What the fuck is that?
All right, relax. We're close enough. 3/4 of a million.
You can have another breakdown.
I know. Let's push that shit, listeners. Let's push that shit.
I've got one more, Steve, and it's for Robert Easter Jr. for getting involved in a bit of a dispute that ended up in him being shot and put in hospital, but he's going to survive. But apparently someone tried to steal his gold chains and rings and cell phone before fleeing the scene. So,
do you think maybe Robert Easter Jr. could be accused of not moving so smart as a professional athlete?
Well, I'm just thinking that I was looking for comments within the police witness statements about Adrian Broner being present, but he wasn't there. So
I swear he got shot 3 times, didn't he, Easter?
Maybe it was twin, possibly. I don't know.
This is just another example of him failing to win because he didn't get off first.
Well, who could have seen this one ending badly for Robert Easter Jr. when you used to go to his fights and see the entourage consisted of Broner and another 20 like-minded individuals shouting him on, and like, you needed to get away from Broner, didn't he? Robert Easter Jr. was a good fighter, man. He could have been a lot better. And, you know, associating with AB, I don't know if that's the fucking right move. So who knows what kind of moves he was making. You have to watch yourself, professional fighters, and remember, if you're wearing something that's fucking people could go feed their family with, maybe don't be out at 2 a.m. at the gas station with it on you. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to fucking try and advise you. I don't live in your world. Like, but, you know.
Well said. Good advice there. Andy, is that all of yours?
That's my mate on you.
Excellent. Ozzy, any from you?
Yeah, one for DAZN, actually. So the on the app, which I've been flagged to because I don't own the app due to I access it from other resources.
Don't tell Dan. Don't tell Dan Raphael.
No, God, no. Fat Dan would be all over trying to grasp me up, the fat idiot. But anyway, no, so DAZN on the Felix Cash fight from last night, they have put up the highlights, but have removed the knockdowns against Felix Cash.
Those bitches.
So, I mean, basically the best bits of the fight they've removed. They've just completely removed the knockdowns for Felix Cash. So they've put up it's basically North Korean style that they've removed anything negative against their home.
I was going to say who's running the fucking social media channels. Hess.
It's like Sam Egginson when he left Sky. They took down all of his wins and left up all of his losses on YouTube.
Yeah.
Hamler's been on their account, I think.
One for DAZN.
Good stuff. Danny, any from you, sir?
Yeah, just just Conor Benn for me, just talking shit constantly, like, and it just goes to show, like, he's trying to get a potential fight with Eubank, and then he's promoters talking about Chris Van Heerden, you know what I mean? It's just a load of tosh, isn't it? So yeah, just Conor Benn for me.
I put it out last night. I said Conor Benn was punting last night, and he was talking about domestic dance partners for Felix Cash, and he referenced Liam Smith and Chris Eubank Jr. Yet, when it comes to him, or came to him fighting domestic opponents, Ben and his team completely dismissed it. So it's talk about, you know, like, you want one thing for your own stable, mate, but when it comes to you doing the same thing, you completely dismiss it. So yeah, I echo the Conor Benn nomination there, because for being Conor Benn, basically.
Literally echo it. Oz, what's going on in the background there?
That's what I was going to say. Oz, are you close to me by any chance? You sound like you're very fucking nearby.
Fields of
It's not
Wexford.
me.
I think that's
It's not-
that was bouncing off Danny.
It was Danny Young. I was going to say it wasn't me, that.
He was transmitting the broadcast back to the mothership.
Transmission. Translucent. Transgender. Danny, you done a nomination, didn't you, Dan?
Yeah, Conor Benn and a transgender.
Oh God, we're gonna get
Gotta
banned,
get us
aren't we?
banned.
We're gonna get
I know.
next
Kenny
next
Keith got
podcast live on fucking BitChute.
Kenny Keith got thrown off speaker tonight, he was saying, and I heard during the week one of the other pods got their Discord server completely knocked down, so it's only a matter of time, isn't it? Might as well enjoy it while we're here. Last days of Caligula.
I remembered my nomination, Steve.
Not how I
Yes,
fucking
go on.
envisaged the last days of Caligula, by the way, on the fucking pod with 6 U's. Jesus Christ.
All I know is I'm not gonna go to the island with the farm animals and my cousins. That ain't gonna happen. Fucking no Caligula.
Is that your
shit for this-
nomination?
No Caligula shit for this guy though. Just throwing that out there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not for all Italians. You know, I hate these stereotypes, Steve. Hate them.
Yeah.
But it was.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Hey,
Push your balls, push your balls,
hey, there was no one else around, so there was no horse. Hey.
What are you gonna do about it? What are
Anyway,
you gonna do about it?
My nomination would be also from the DAZN broadcast, but it would be for Gabe Rosado, who was visibly frustrated after seeing that decision when he put in a better shout for beating Jacobs than Ryder did, and he had to watch it happen, and the guy get a potential title shot off of that.
But that
too.
hairdo, though. But that
I'll
hairdo.
tell you what, though.
That fringe was outrageous, man. She would get fucking. He deserves to get robbed for that fringe.
Gabe Rosado, though, came out and said after it, now Danny Jacobs know what it feels like to get robbed, because I was robbed exactly against him. So I thought that was quite amusing. But a couple of other things, actually. It's not a Bellew of the Week, but a big shout out to Big Max, part of Team Porky Promotions, who went to Estonia and won on his professional debut. I don't know if it was via points or via a stoppage. I've seen some sort of clips. Was it a knockout?
Yeah.
So yeah, Big Max, you know, he's gone abroad, done it the hard way, didn't go with his cut man or his corner man, no trainer yet, and he's gone there and got the stoppage win. So he'll be coming to a Hobson show near you soon to fight Cash Ali, no doubt. And then the other one I've just seen in the chat as well from Fat as a Pig Michelin Man. If we can try and get a clip of Fat Dan's chair collapsing at a press conference, that would be a good addition. So if somebody can send that video to Steve Wellings, that would be a fantastic addition next week.
Did that
I've
really
never seen
happen?
that. I've never seen that before. Fat Dan, his chair collapsing at a presser. So absolutely, I want to see that footage.
It'd be amazing to see Fat Dan stand up one day. Actually, the seat actually kind of stick to his ass at the same time. You know?
Son of a
Mate,
bitch.
I don't mind, right? These chairs can take the weight of a fucking lot of people, but the fact that that fat idiot sat down and broke the chair.
He has
that is
two
some
chairs,
serious-
Ozzy, usually, whenever I've been ringside with him.
Yeah,
he
but
has
mate,
two chairs.
that makes it even worse then. That the fucking two chairs have collapsed. And the fucking, you know, fuck me. And he has just collapsed the chairs. My God, that is some effort, that. And he's made no effort to lose any weight either. It's not as if, you know, all right. I mean, if it was me and I'm sitting down on a chair and it collapses because I am that fat, I'd be doing everything I can to lose weight. And the fat punk has just put more weight on.
Can someone out there do
a lot of fat
compilation
shaming going on this pod tonight, guys. You know what I mean?
Can Could someone do a compilation of Ozzy's best rants and put it into one? I think it'd be awesome.
They're not as frequent since Dave Allen retired. He was really looking at his back up, didn't he, Dave Allen? Maybe Sticky Levi or whatever still take his place.
Since the goat has come to UK shows though with that fucking hairline, then they have made a comeback though, haven't they?
You're gonna get a challenge to be Bobby Riggs.
Right. Who hasn't thrown in? Rob, you haven't thrown in, have you?
No, just the guy who's doing the fucking research on Ebony Bridges' impact on her social media fans compared to her pay-per-view buys. It's the info I needed anyway. I wanted to find out more about. So make sure you fill out that questionnaire for that geezer. Eddie as well. Ethan Ed, how are you, pal? I'm sure you spoke about it. I got our ladies a bit. Seems a bit. There's something wrong with him, isn't it? It's not his usual jovial self over the last couple of weeks.
Wonder why.
I don't know, but I heard from a reliable source.
Warren's getting into him anyway.
A very reliable source in the game. A guy called, little known guy, you might have heard of him, Michael Benson, has broken news that the Haney is no longer an option for Cambosis. So that's kind of, it's a bit of a run he's on at the moment for not delivering these big fights that he's talked up now. You know, obviously it's not his fault, so it's not going to be his fault. Like, it's going to be Cambosis Senior's fault, Cambosis Junior's fault, Lomachenko's fault, Bob Aaron's fault, Frank Warren's fault, Umar's fault. Yeah, so I don't know. Even Ed, I think you just need to relax a bit, dude. You know what I mean? Chill out. Don't be getting so fucking ruffled. Don't be letting your feathers get so ruffled. It's not good for business. So hopefully, you know, something happens in the boxing world in the next couple of weeks where we get a fight made, and then he might cheer up a little bit. But it's been a grim run for Ed. Even Ed.
I'm just gonna throw this out there. We should really start a Twitter campaign when Cambosis' next fight is announced to get Father Dave on the undercard.
He's a priest, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be some fight.
But honestly, you know, we get a bit carried away. Sometimes we give Ed a bit too much, and we say, you know, Ed is unscrupulous and he's a liar. But at the end of the day, all the promoters are unscrupulous and they're all liars. And at the moment, none of the fucking fights are getting made. So I don't give a shit who's to blame. Just somebody get a fucking sorted, and then we can fucking crack on with talking about what we're supposed to be talking instead of talking about these fucking idiots and their turtlenecks.
Well said. No more turtlenecks. Right, let's pick who we've. Oh, there's a good couple there, Andy, tonight. Jeremy McDonald's a strong one. The Ebony, I like the Ebony tweets coming back and forward. Who are you going for, Andy?
I am going for Jimmy McDonald, mate. That was absolutely fantastically outrageous to see all the fucking. I actually sat and read every reply that he got to these messages. Tremendous outrage. I loved it. Absolutely loved it, mate. You know, the guy's had a hard time, mate, recently. He's not been seeing his daughter. He's had problems with substance abuse. And because we're in a holiday, takes a wee selfie with his missus. You know, so let him be happy.
This isn't begging him for forgiveness.
Look at the dog, man.
He's my saviour.
Right, Jeremy McDonald. Oz, who are you going for?
Yeah, it's got to be Jamie McDonald. I mean, fuck me. He's made national headlines now. I think the Sun have covered it. Just
oh, really?
Aye.
Yeah. Yeah, he's. I mean, I wouldn't mind as well. He's meant absolutely nothing by it either. He's just uploaded harmless pictures saying, you know, we're here at Auschwitz, and the comments he got. You know,
fucking hell, man! That's just terrible.
You're celebrating my dead relatives and stuff like that. I just think, fuck me. He meant nothing by it. He meant nothing by it at all. But
his career's fucked. He's got no comebacks. He's got no TV deal. They're going to disown him now, mate. He's fucked.
But yeah, he's made the Daily Mail and the Sun. And the Daily Star as well.
Oh, so all the big hitters are out here, is it?
Yeah. Boxer Jamie McDonald deletes inappropriate Auschwitz pictures after fan backlash. So yeah, he may have to delete the pictures, but he can get an award for deleting the pictures.
Danny, who are you going for?
I can't go for Jamie McDonald. I couldn't even take a picture of Auschwitz without just your normal picture, never mind a selfie. But so it's a bit bit close to the bone, that one. So yeah, going to avoid that. I'd like to go for Adam Smith, but I think that was last week. So I do like the ducking and weaving there from the weirdo himself. But for me this week, it's got to be asking Ebony Bridges to whack a strap on and go balls deep on that young lady Black sister. That's the one.
Yes, yes, I am with him.
That's 2 for that. I'm going for that too. What about you, Matty? You going for that as well?
Yes. Yes, that guy trying to direct an Ebony Bridges porno through Twitter is a fucking creepy individual.
Calm down, pal. It's not Babe Station. Shut the fuck out.
Right, 2 for Jamie, 3 for Ebbs. Could be all riding on you. Rapping Roberto. Who are you going for?
Yeah, we go for Ebbs. Why not? Why not? The fella who's directing Ebbs in the replies. Ebony Bridges' replies are gold, by the way. She could just say, cold outside tonight. And everyone's like, I wouldn't mind cuddling up with you, and I don't mean just for cuddling either, by the way. You know what I mean? I mean having sex
That's
with
just
you.
the gas.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to penetrate you.
Congratulations, Ebony. You are the Value of the Week winner for episode 461. Yeah, the boys have sent me pictures of Ricky, Fat Dan's chair collapsing and other bits and pieces, but we'll have to hold them for next week, I'm afraid, for episode 462, when Matty will be in the hot seat. Thanks for everybody who's been on tonight, including Ozzy, Andy, Danny Young, Matty. We've had Rob on as well. We've had Andy Clark. We've had John Ryder. Ozzy, just before I thank the super chatters, I believe you wanted to jump in there.
Yeah, that fucking chair never stood a chance with Fat Dan's weight piling on it. My God.
R.I.P. the chair. Yeah, we'll get that for next week, hopefully. We will indeed.
Like England versus Argentina all over again.
It's happening. It's collapsed under pressure. No pressure on the super chatters. Who have we had tonight? We've had Michael Thompson. We've had Ryan Petit. We've had Clouds Gaming. We've had Ricky Graville. We've had Chris Burns, Danny Young, and Matthew Russell. Thanks to everybody who's been on. We've had a good laugh as always. Enjoy it while it's here, everybody. Enjoy it while it's here. I've been your host, Steve Wellings. See you all again, same time, same place next week. Or earlier, if we get the 150 likes for the post-fight pod, Khan versus Brook. It is in your hands, dear people. It's in your hands. Bye.
We'll never forget.
I think that's good at me.
Go to and move!
We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch.
I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep. I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum. You're a fucking asshole.
Rumpo fucking Steltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year ain't. 7-year ain't.
I will fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love boxing sounds. As simple as that.